Hello fellow global citizens. Do you have the moment to talk about veganism? The truly grassroots vegan revolution needs your help. The climate is changing and it won't stop until we all do what the good grown-ups on the TV tell us to do. If we all don't do exactly what big finance and the smart grown-ups at the UN, IMF, World Bank, big foundations and Fortune 100 say, this poor 16-year-old human shield won't get her future back. This is a real emergency and there is no time to ask questions.
What have you done to change your life? Like you said, you do things that you can do to look yourself in the eye and know you've done enough. What have you done?
I have stopped flying and I have gone vegan. I have a shop stop. It means you don't buy new things unless you absolutely have to.
Oh, hi there. It's Ellen DeGeneres here. I was scrolling through the gram and I noticed that a lot of people are talking about eating less meat, which I think is a fantastic idea. It's a great idea for the planet. It's a great idea for your health. It's a great idea for the animals' health. So eat less meat. Unless you're a vegan and you don't eat meat already, then good for you. So you don't even need to pay attention to this. But for the people who do eat meat, just try to eat less of it. Maybe eat it less, once a week, or none a week, or just, like if you eat it every night, don't eat it every night. Eat it less than that. 4 nights a week would be okay, but like 3 or 2 nights or just 1 night a week would be the best. Anyway, it's really, the point is it's better for you and it's better for the environment and for the animals. Eat less meat. Hashtag eat less meat. Hey, be neat. No meat. Be neat. Eat less meat. Hashtag be neat. Eat less meat. Hashtag bye-bye.
I believe we need to reallocate the world's resources because sharing is crucial. The climate crisis is a battle for solidarity, a battle for human rights and children's rights.
I feel so powerful knowing that Ellen DeGeneres and courageous 16-year-old human shield Greta are also vegan activists saving the planet with me. The UN needs to reallocate all the world's land and resources. The science is clear. The smart adults from science say that the global megacorporations in the World Business Council for Sustainable Development like Bayer Monsanto, Unilever, Cargill, Shell, IKEA, Nestle, in the good philanthropists at the Rockefeller Foundation, the MacArthur Foundation, the World Resources Institute, the IMF and the World Bank will all help reallocate all the world's land and resources and ration us sustainable nutrient-fortified plant-based kibble so we can stop off-gassing toxic CO2 and polluting the world with toxic human babies. The British royal family, close friends of philanthropists Jimmy Savile and Jeffrey Epstein, just want to help us reallocate the world's resources to save us from the climate.
With all of that activism, some might think you'd be exhausted. But look at you and listen to you, you know the secret. That in giving back, in fighting the good fight, it doesn't exhaust you, it energizes you.
This is an emergency and we must do this now.
Climate change is a humanitarian issue, not a political one.
The transnational corporations, banks, and philanthropists like the UN, the royal family, Jimmy Savile, and Jeffrey Epstein need to reallocate the world's resources and feed us nutrient-fortified plant-based kibble to make everything happy and equal. Being vegan is so easy and healthy. I am not a bigot. I will do this for the planet and the children. Let's take a look at vegan YouTube for some recipes for sustainable vegan cuisine we can eat in order to save Mommy Earth from the real credible death threats from the climate.
How to do vegan in a food court. Everyone's got a food court in a shopping mall near you. Let's do one here. Let's go.
I am so empowered as a member of this truly grassroots and not corporate-controlled revolution for the animals and the planet against the bigot science deniers who won't obey the good grown-ups on the TV.
Vegan pretzel available here. Okay, now most food courts are pretty much the same, all right? Now first off on the left, sushi. If you find any sushi place, they do vegan sushi at every single sushi place. You make sure they don't put mayonnaise or anything that's not vegan, any sort of weird fish stuff on there.
Weird fish stuff and real animal foods are so mean and bad and don't belong on my vegan soy sushi.
Suffocated and stabbed to death, hacked up into pieces to be put in sushi, when you can have vegetables in sushi, tofu in sushi, so many things you can have in sushi that...
There are so many good nice things made of soy that we can have instead of bad, mean, gross, racist real foods.
Why choose rotting dead fish when you can have vegan sushi? Boom, straight away, a vegan box. Most places do a vegan box now. You don't want to eat any murdered fish here. Look, mercury, fish, suffering, death, no point. A vegan box, delicious, look at that one. Really good. You can always get edamame beans as well. A little seaweed salad as well. Or you can ask them to prepare you some vegan sushi. Amazing. Sushi
Animal
is a really
foods
good
so
vegan
gross,
option.
so sad, so bad. Soy replacements so happy, so tolerant, so good.
Sushi place will always look after you. All right, let's go.
It is so much more healthy and sustainable to eat tofu made from mass-produced GMO Monsanto soy grown by some of the extra people in South America living under a puppet government military dictatorship, funded by massive IMF loans given under the condition that all the extra rural people there grow patented GMO soy and corn for export instead of their heritage crops and spray pesticides and herbicides like Roundup on all their soil and devalue their currency, so they become debt slaves and must sell their labor, land, and resources for cheap to the Fortune 100 companies and members of the World Business Council for Sustainable Development, who can strip mine at the end of their debt slaves, grow industrial soy to ship to China for processing into cheap Roundup fortified tofu kibble they can sell to social engineered, decadent, distracted, narcissistic Westerners who these transnational corporations and banks educated into thinking they're saving the planet by doing exactly what the big investment banks and transnational corporations tell the screens they worship to tell them to do.
You can easily have, instead of tandoori murdered animal, you could have tandoori tofu, tandoori seitan, you know, tandoori whatever other plant alternative other than pieces of flesh from an animal.
Purchasing this is powerful activism and will help the IMF give sustainable debt to all those extra rural people who grow my cheap food. The World Bank and transnational corporations are helping us help those extra South American and African debt slaves to go green and stop breathing toxic CO2 and killing and eating innocent animals, so we can all move into corporate-controlled total surveillance smart city coffin apartments and pay for our fortified vegan kibble, pharmaceutical drugs, and VR porn with social carbon credits to save the planet from the totally real and not made up #climate crisis.
Vegan, oh wow, oh no, this is veggie. Okay, so they've got it veggie and vegan separated, which is good. These are all the animal body parts that you don't want to be eating. Merry Christmas, not so merry for the animals. Let's have a look here. Oh, eggs are not vegan, obviously. Oh, here, look, avocado and toast. Wow, that looks really nice.
This jittery, effeminate 31-year-old boomer is so inspirational to me as a vegan activist. He is the best at purchasing vegan kibble. I wish everyone could know how good it feels to eat soy and corn-based vegan kibble instead of real animal foods. I do not even miss real animal foods. Real animal foods are mean and gross and not even good. Mass-produced vegan corporate kibble is way healthier and tastier and nicer and make me so happy. If we don't all do this, the climate will keep changing and all the bad things will happen and Bambi and Simba will be murdered every day always.
Any of these cakes vegan? Oh my god, those cookies are. Oh no, that says veggie, not vegan, so I was just seeing that these are vegan. Oh wow, oh awesome, yeah, that's cool. Can I just have these, please? Thank you very much, Ta. Bye-bye. Still a little taste test of this soup. Oh my lord. That's amazing. Wow.
What's your view?
I can't think of a better thing for the animal rights movement, to be
Yeah.
honest, bro. I think one of the biggest issues with people going vegan is also the convenience factor.
Yeah.
It's too hard. What am I going to do? This is where I eat. I go to this supermarket, I go to this restaurant, I get this fast food. Like, they don't have
I am
vegan
not
stuff
being
there.
used. I am a grassroots activist saving the animals and the planet. I have not been duped.
Beyond Burger in all of their stores, and they advertised it every store I drive past, huge billboards on the highway. I'm like, plant-based meat options, this is amazing. Wow, they're really normalizing it. The convenience factor is through the roof.
Yeah.
Incredible. I'm so
Huge.
happy. Absolutely. And they're selling out of it.
Yeah.
So that's Tim Hortons. They did the same at A&W. They were
Veganism is healthy and rebellious. Animal foods are not necessary. All our ancestors just ate them because the patriarchy and capitalism. 12 bowel movements a day is normal and enjoyable. Soy is a great replacement for everything. Dr. Greger is not frightening. If we don't all do this, the planet will die. Jeffrey Epstein committed suicide and was working all alone. If I spend more energy on vegan activism, I will stop craving real animal foods and questioning myself.
They go with their vegan friend. The vegan friend suggests, why don't you just try it? Try this. People start seeing, oh, this is delicious, and I feel pretty good that it isn't actually an animal. I don't like causing animal cruelty. I heard these are healthier as well. They're better for the planet too. They have just as much protein.
It's huge.
Makes a lot of sense.
It's huge. They
It
have
is.
millions of dollars in marketing. They have restaurants all over the world. They can reach the mainstream like no other.
They're
you
doing
know?
all the advertising for us,
Yeah.
man. I'm like, thanks. Thanks for spreading the vegan message for us. I'm so stoked.
But I saw the same people who are emotionally against KFC would happily walk into Starbucks and get the oat, get an oat latte. And I'm like, wait a second.
These vegan activists are mentally and physically healthy and are not sickly. Effeminate head case is being used by multinational corporations, global banks, and big money foundations to push a transnational resource consolidation agenda.
I want to reach those low-income families that are just eating meat. They never heard of vegan before, and they walk into McDonald's and there's a McVegan there.
Totally.
And they can choose that over the slaughtered, enslaved dairy cow's body that's minced up in the other burgers, you know?
Absolutely, man. And I think that, yes, KFC, they kill so many dead chickens, millions, tens of millions. It's horrific.
Yeah.
But if anyone can change, anyone, slaughterhouse workers change, we change, people change, businesses change too.
And if I was to like, you can't support KFC, you must only, I just think like, we're not in a position to have that flexibility to go, you can only buy vegan food from here. We need people buying vegan food from wherever it's available. The world's like, oh God, we need radical change. We need radical change. We need people working from below. We need direct action from above. We need corporations putting on vegan options. We need everything working together.
The money is there. If we can save the banks, then we can save the world. I mean... if there's something we are not lacking in this world, it's money. And of course, many people do lack money, but governments and these people in power, they do not lack money.
Eat the kibble, bigots.
Hello, fellow global citizens. Fellow global citizens in the chat. What's up, everybody? What's up, guys? I hope you guys are all enjoying some plant-based kibble today. Saving the planet by starving ourselves. We got a special guest today, guys. He's actually right here. Let's see. Oh, wait, no. John's setting up his desk right now. He's almost here. He's almost ready. I just finished my makeup. I'm ready. We're waiting on John. Let me read some super chats before we get started with John here. I want to thank all the bigots up in the chat, proving that they are not racists and that they're not bigots by sending super chats. Deo Rizvi, Senate 499 says, spread the word, good global citizens. When you read the word with a lot of eshish, you must do it like Sadhguru. We must all be good global citizens and decrease our carbon footprint by decreasing the size of our feet. And thank you very much for that, Dale. Honest AF, also up there, getting some good global citizen social credit points to be used on VR porn. What else are approved activities? You can use this to send to other McActivists, right, for saving the planet or saving the world from all the racists. So thank you. 100 good global citizen points to you. Sending 5 Canadians. Honest AF. I thought you were in America for some reason. You've been around the chat for a while. Thanks for always supporting. Location 515. Location 515 is always throwing them super chats. Says those credits are coming my way. You know what? You do have the most social credit points out of anybody I've given this stream so far. You're so far winning the super chat competition. If you continue to send the super chat, the planet will flourish. Psycho Magnet sending 5 pounds. 5 pounds from Psycho Magnet over there in the UK. It says, contribution to the 2021 Animal Abuser Calendar featuring Tristan and John Venus. All right, that's a good one. Arius Augusta sent it $10. Says, John, so happy for you and your family. I followed your diet advice for 2 to 3 years, ended up with the same issues as you. I can already see you and Catherine glowing with health in your latest video. So, John, I'll read that to John when he comes back on. I'll make sure John hears that one. There we go. One of my favorite channels in the world right now in the chat. Jay Dyer, everybody. Can I get a shout out? Jay Dyer sends $9.99. Jay Dyer, you also get 100 social credit points, and you were officially not racist because you sent a super chat. Jay Dyer says, can I get a shout out and support given I was demonetized? That's what's up, guys. Jay's whole channel was demonetized. Whole channel. Entire channel demonetized. What the heck's up with that? What's up with that? Has YouTube told you why yet, Jay? Really curious. We got to get you back on the stream soon, though, Jay. Guys, make sure to support Jay. I know he just set up his Streamlabs. Shoot, we might have to do the Streamlabs soon. But, yeah, I guess Jay is not as good of a global citizen as we once suspected. And YouTube wasn't liking what Jay had to say. I don't get it. I mean, he was pretty careful with his channel. So, Jay, nice having you in the chat. Guys, make sure to check out and support Jay's channel. Become a member of his website. And here we go. John's back. Special guest, John Venus, in the house, in my living room, coming at you live from not his treadmill. John Venus, what's up, dude?
Hey, how's it going?
It's good, man. It's good to have you on. We're on the other side of the fence this time, right? Last time we had you on, you were kind of in between phase. What was it, 6 months ago when you came on? You talked to Bobby and I.
Yeah, no, that was a very interesting conversation. It was about 6 or 8 months ago or something like that. Yeah, that's right. And as you just said, a completely different scenario right now. And I'm interested to dive deep into everything that's happened lately. I think it's gonna be super interesting and also entertaining and informative and useful for everyone watching. So look forward to it.
Well, I mean, you're no longer in enemy territory. I mean, I guess when you came on before, maybe I think people were a little bit upset. Why would you even speak to Tristan and Bobby? These people, they're terrible. They're just gonna play mind games with you and try to get you to not eat a vegan diet anymore. I see all these comments and it's funny, but I'm glad you're here and I'm glad you finally gave up the vegan ghost. It's been a long time coming, hasn't it?
Yeah, so I think this is one of the biggest issues with the world, in my opinion, is just the unwillingness to talk to people from different points of view. I think, I've always had non-vegan friends and hunters as friends and these things. So for me, even when I was a vegan, I never saw a reason not to talk to people from, different camps and beliefs. So it just never makes sense to, try to be so divisive. So yeah, it's definitely good to, feel like I'm not trying to pander, or not even pander, but like appease a certain, percentage of the audience who is very judgmental towards people with a different perspective. That's, really freeing. and it's only been a couple of weeks since I've embarked on this new journey, new lifestyle, or new diet, at least. So it's been a really good experience, and it's really been eye-opening, especially when it comes down to, you know, friends or people who you thought were friends before. You know, you kind of reveal who those true friends are, who is actually sticking around after you kind of make a different lifestyle change. And also how the audience and how the community itself reacts is always a interesting case study. Not my first round, I have to say. This is like my third round.
It's the third time quitting veganism, man. The first 2 times you were like in and out, and then I want to talk about all that, man. And it's what a fascinating thing it is how people switch up on you, right? They're your best buddy when your channel's marketing lines up with them, and then you make a change and suddenly you're public enemy number one. I don't know. It seems like before you even fully renounced veganism, a lot of these people were even preemptively trying to distance themselves from you, right? Did you experience some of that? Am I right in that assertion?
Yeah, I wouldn't say, friends at that point, they were completely cool with everything. So it wasn't so much an issue in my personal life. It was more what was going on the online space, my following, and not only, my following has always been quite understanding. A small percentage disliked every time I did something controversial, but the majority of people who are following for my personality, my advice, they were completely cool with it. But what happens is that the vegans who are maybe more of an extreme mindset, they tend to really focus on these things and share the video around and make response videos and make a huge deal out of these small things. So, at the time when I think it was when Team Sheaf and, or maybe it was when Raw Vana and Raw Alignment, or at least quit being vegan. I think it was around that time I made the label video where I was so disappointed and kind of even disgusted by the reaction that the community had towards them, from small time or big time YouTubers to plant-based doctors, just shaming them and trying to make them look like pathetic fools for quitting the lifestyle. And I was really upset about that and made that video in a really bad state of mind. I was injured at the time, pretty depressed.
That was a funny video. You ended up making it, did you make it private, or what happened to that video? Is it even up anymore?
Yeah, I'm not sure if it's up right now. I think I took it down for a while. It might be up right now. But you can definitely tell by my face that I'm really fed up and
you were tortured
really
in that video.
Demotivated.
Yeah, you seem really conflicted too. All right, so I want to ask you this question. I think a lot of vegans are probably wondering it too. So that time, all right, so you made that video. You're like, I don't want the vegan label anymore. I no longer want to identify as vegan. Which, I totally relate. Like, I came out as trans vegan over a year, almost 2 years ago. And as a trans person, as a trans vegan, I've experienced a lot of hate since then. And they must have been really upset with you. So the egg thing happened not too long after that. It might've been like 6 months later. And that's the last time I talked to you was, we named it on this channel Egggate, and then Vegan Gains and some other people, they also picked up on the Egggate. So people still call it Egggate. And I think that's so funny. I said it as a joke, but these vegans were legitimately, this was like a scandal. John Venus confessed to eating eggs. And it wasn't even like you just ate the eggs. Like you said, you ate those eggs like months ago or a year ago. What was the timeline? Was the time when you were considering like eating eggs, and when you did try the eggs, but it was just, what was like 3 eggs or something like that? When you did eat those eggs, was that around the time when you made that video?
Around the time when I made the label video?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was. So that video was made in this very office, actually, so in Norway. And then that was like at the very last, I think, week or a couple weeks before I went back to Spain. And when I went back to Spain, that was when I decided to give the egg experiment a go. So I'd say it was maybe max a month after that video. That's when I did the egg experiment. More. So
it took you a whole month to get from like the point of, all right. So at that point, when you made that video, you had to see something more than just like, oh, I don't like how these vegans are responding. Because if you were still ideologically attached to the vegan worldview, I feel like maybe you would have joined in on the shaming of all these ex-vegans. Like, did you already know that something was off with veganism at that point?
Well, it's not necessarily something that was up with veganism itself, because at that time I was 100% vegan myself, right? It's more a problem with the people who are representing veganism. So the actual people in the movement who were very judgmental and hateful. And I've never, even from day one, I've never kind of subscribed to the idea of shaming people for not living the way that you do. I think when I went vegan, I guess like the first 6 months, maybe a little bit longer, I was quite a bit more extreme in terms of like really pushing the message very passionately, because it was all completely new to me. And, like most people, when you find out something new, you want to share it with passion. You want to make people open their eyes to something. But apart from those initial months, I've never been a person to encourage shaming or humiliation or trying to feel superior to other people based on different points of view. So definitely, I think that Tim Sheaf was probably the first one who made a big noise, or maybe it was Bonnie Rebecca. I can't remember exactly who it was, but I remember the first time I saw someone, a public figure, an influencer, quitting the vegan diet and making a video about it. I remember really, getting some weird vibes about the whole thing, because, I've always gone to veg fests and vegan events, and it's always been a good experience for me because I'm hanging out with people who are like-minded to myself. I'm not, hanging out with the average person who is attending those events and festivals.
So you're hanging out with the superstars. You're hanging out with Hench Herbivore, Joey Carbstrong, right? Like
he's a newcomer.
I guess we can get into him later. I think he made some funny response videos.
I'm sure.
So yeah, I mean, you get together with these groups of people, and it's a little bit different, right? It's a different vibe.
Yeah, exactly. So it was like like two different worlds. So you got the one camp who was my camp that I intentionally created, around me, which was, cool people, chill people. And then you have the other people who are more into maybe street activism. And, there's still super cool people who are into street activism. But I think a lot of people, but I think most people have a more of an extreme mindset if they're involved in those things. So I think that they're, quite a different mixture of people who are vegan. And unfortunately, the more I learned over the years, the more I realized that it wasn't just a tiny percentage of the people who are vegan who are, hateful towards people who disagree with them. It was a larger percentage than I initially thought. And that was pretty sad as well.
Oh, apologies.
So when you go to these places like Veg Fest, when you're around a lot of these vegans, I mean, when you first got into it, did you get like a high from it? Like, did you really enjoy the vibe, and did your feelings on the vegan community and on what it was actually like to be around these people shift with time? Because it's fun as an outsider, right? As somebody who's not like in that community, I watch some of these videos from the Veg Fest and stuff, and it's super cringy. It's like, to me, it just seems so culty and so weird and self-congratulatory. And it's like, man, I could never see myself interacting like that with people. I mean, even though it's fake and on camera for a lot of people, I couldn't imagine myself being around an environment that was like that.
Right. So for me, I never really had the experience of going to a Veg Fest like a or a vegan event like a normal kind of vegan would attend it, because I was always in a health and fitness scene, right? So it wasn't so much different from Body Power and these fitness events that I've been to prior to going vegan, right? So it was, since we're all kind of focused on health and fitness, it was more of a health, fitness, personal development vibe, and we attracted more of those similar people, right? So there was always a disconnect between that tribe that we created, which are awesome, and the other camps or the rest of the people. So I don't think I've ever been able to really experience one of these events truly for the way that it actually is for the majority of the time. So I can't really answer that properly, because I've always been around the group that I kind of decided to hang around, and
makes sense.
with the Vivo Life crew and these guys who
You found the one corner of it that probably wasn't as cringy. you found the chill ones.
Yeah, it wasn't even me finding a corner. It was like it was us creating that corner for ourselves, right? Because it didn't exist. So when I came into the movement, there was Vegan Gains and Durian Rider were the fitness superstars.
Yeah. But that's like peak cringe. That's like the peak level of, socially inept weirdos.
Exactly. So I felt like, we had to create something new, right? So that's how it started. It started by me connecting with other people who were on a similar journey and then building that up into a team and getting them sponsored by the same company and just creating a tribe around that. So that's kind of like what my, initial couple of years was all about, was just creating that tribe of people, of like-minded people on the same mission. Because I felt so alone when I started.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. It makes sense why you were able to last so long in that too. I mean, I wonder, and it's all just speculation, right? But if you'd like immediately been thrown into like Joey Carbstrong type circles, right? Street activism. Hey, we don't care about health, and if you bring up health, you're kind of a heretic. Those kind of circles. I mean, I feel like maybe you wouldn't have lasted as long, right? I mean, you're somebody who's obviously real fit, great genetics, somebody who's built a really respectable physique, a long time vegan. Hey, I wonder how long you would have lasted if that was all you had around you, if you didn't have some of these other people who were, a little bit more, not normal, but like, the people that you would like to hang out with.
Oh, 100%. I mean, I think that community and tribe is everything, right? Like, we're social animals and we need that tribe around us to feel fulfilled as humans. And I think a lot of vegans, miss that. And the only way they can sustain their own lifestyle and feel like they're part of something is to connect with those people. And these events are usually that escape for them. Unfortunately, most people just create online connections and they actually never have real life friends and these things, which is pretty sad because they have issues with their parents. They can't communicate with their siblings, and they're kind of distancing themselves from their real original social circle because of their new point of view. So it's pretty sad how changing your perspective or living a different lifestyle can isolate you so much, and that happens a lot in the vegan movement, just like it probably happens a lot in a lot of different movements and religions maybe.
Yeah, well, that's what I see. It's kind of more like that, right? I mean, as far as diets, I don't think people what other diet niches are there? There's like the kind of paleo people, and that's kind of past now. You got kind of like the carnivore, keto. I don't really know anybody who's like, promotes keto, but they can't speak to people who don't eat keto. Like, I can't talk to you if you don't put butter in your coffee, bro. Like, if you believe that cholesterol causes heart disease, I can't even be in the same room as you. You're disgusting, right? It's like, I don't see it like that, but it's funny because veganism, it really is, and I've said it many times that I do see it as a religion, and you bring that word up, now that you're on the other side of it. I mean, what was so crazy to me is just seeing the shaming rituals that happen when people not even like leaving veganism. You didn't even leave veganism and you were shamed, and they were trying to distance themselves from you in certain ways. And some of them were saying, it's like they smelled it coming, right? When you look at, I really like studying cults, and it's funny, you watch these documentaries about cults and cult leaders. They're constantly breaking each other down in these cults, and they're constantly monitoring each other's thought processes and using things like mantra and ritual to reinvigorate people's connection to each other. And we got to see that with you, especially the Vegan Gains talk, right? So I mean, I asked you about the egg thing before the egg gate talk that you did with Vegan Gains. I want to talk about that. I got 1,000 questions that come to mind with that conversation. But what made you want to do that, first of all, right? So first you came and talked to Bobby and I, and we had some laughs and stuff. We're kind of just, I think I remember telling you, dude, it's eventually you're not going to be vegan, and you know it. And the longer you wait, the more you're just going to be stumbling around and confused. And I remember that was a great conversation. I appreciate you coming on back then. You were riding the fence. So it seems like riding the fence ended up chafing your ass enough that you decided to get off of it and come to the other side. But when you talk to vegan gains, what the hell were you thinking? Like, what were you thinking going into that? Because it was hilarious. That was one of my favorite vegan conversations ever.
Right. So, and it's so funny because now that I'm getting this criticism all over again, people are reminding me of that conversation. You know, remember when vegan gains destroyed you in that live debate? I'm like, dude, whatever you guys want to see, you know, it's people see what they want. But the reason why that debate, or it wasn't even a debate, he really wanted to debate with me, and I, you know, to be honest, I think that debating someone like him would be, you know, I don't know, it's maybe unethical, who knows, man, because it will be easy to point his flaws out to the public that are very obvious, and I don't want to you know, be disrespectful to, you know, maybe he has issues or whatever. But the reason why this conversation happened in the first place was because he reached out a few months back or before that, asking for coaching help, you know, how he could provide his, you know, following coaching and meal plans and workout plans so he could start making some money, right?
Yeah.
And I helped him out. I told him what I do. I told him what he could do, the different options that people in the fitness space use to, you know, make workout plans and these things.
Yeah.
And we talked for like a good while, and he was really appreciative. And then, you know, when that happened, he made a video about me eating eggs and how I'm not really vegan. And at the same time, on that video, he was promoting his coaching, his coaching that he just launched on that video.
What?
And telling everyone not to buy anything from me ever again because I don't have people's health or good intentions in mind, right? So,
dude, that's so. And he used and that coaching platform that you basically provided him the foundation of for free.
Yeah.
And then he bashes you and says he's a fake vegan. And didn't he also say, I know John Venus, and I don't really trust him. I think he's really lame and he's super fake. And that's what he was doing? Dude, that's freaking hilarious. That's so funny.
So I wanted to set some of the things, you know, record straight. I don't even know if we talked about that, but my main goal was just to point out his hypocrisy in the conversation, just, you know, get people to maybe understand that this guy, you know, actually doesn't make any sense in what he's talking about, and his criticisms are extremely hypocritical, given the fact that he's done many things himself that, you know, to many other vegans would seem unethical or even more unethical than eating a couple eggs, right? So
whoa, John, that's outside the scope of our conversation, John. That's outside the scope of our conversation, John. Can you show me can you show me some studies that can back that up, please, John?
Yeah,
dude, you brought up in that how he had a fridge full of meat back when he was feeding his dog that he was starving meat. He had a whole fridge full of meat, and he's gonna tell you that it's not okay that you had 3 eggs.
Yeah. So, and I asked him if because he said I was extremely selfish for experimenting, and I asked him in a hypothetical situation if the only way to survive and to overcome a deadly disease or you know, overcome death or to prevent death was to eat animals, would he do it, or would he actually, you know, rather die? And he said that he would rather die because he's not a selfish piece of shit, which was, you know, super strange. And I think when I was live with him, everyone was backing him up in the live chat. So I think maybe a lot of his you know, hardcore following and his, you know, hardcore audience agrees with him in the fact that you should actually sacrifice yourself for the benefit of the animals. And and that was really, really, it wasn't surprising that he was going to say that, but what was more surprising was the people's reaction to it, that they didn't think it was a big deal. So that was kind of strange to me.
Well, I call bullshit on it too. I think he's a dang liar. And you could see it in his face when he said that. He thought about it. He goes, yes, John. Yes, because I don't care. Because I don't care, John. I'm not selfish like you, John. And then I think you asked him again, and I think then at that point he said, well, that's outside the scope of our conversation. And then he kind of like that's ridiculous that you would even ask that. So, yeah, man, that was one of the best moments. I don't know. I thought in that chat, like, I thought you were gonna decide that night, like, I'm done with this. This is ridiculous. Right, because that was, I mean, if you guys haven't seen that, go check out on Vegan Gains channel. Shout out to Vegan Gains. Does a better job debunking veganism than I do. So go check out Vegan Gains, Richard's channel, and check out the John Venus Egg Gate conversation, and also see the chat with Bobby's perspective and John Venus and myself the day before that, and does for a little bit of history. Very, very funny. And during that, I thought you did a pretty, I don't know, I kind of saw that as you basically, in a very polite way, in a very softly spoken and kind of unspoken way, you stood up to Richard and you showed how ridiculous he was. And you just kind of let him throw some punches and kind of, you know, kind of beat a dead horse there. But I thought you were going to go trans vegan, come out as trans vegan or non-vegan way sooner. So yeah, going back in time a little bit, if you remember, what did you feel like after that? How did you feel about veganism in general, and where were you at as far as the fence sitting goes?
Yeah, so this is interesting because the whole thing, the whole questioning of the actual vegan diet came when I was about to have a kid, right? So, it's really hard to be objective and to do the research and to look at things from a different perspective when you are in that, you're living that life. You're actually one of the people who is, I wouldn't say leading the movement, but like online, at least in the fitness and health space, you're kind of paving the way for others. And your whole family's vegan, and your audience is vegan, and all your friends, most of your friends are vegan, or at least your new friends that you made. And your business revolves around, coaching people into a plant-based diet. It's really hard to be critical when you're already so far deep down a path, right? So even if I started questioning this, a while back, it was always like, I dig into the research a little bit. I listen to different opinions a little bit. I'm like, I'd rather listen to Dr. Neil Barnard or whatever, like, these vegan doctors, and trust that, this is a good thing. But I think what started to change was definitely when, I really realized that some of the research was, there was no research basically, right? Like I made up my mind to really go for it and find as much evidence as I could, with the help of vegan doctors, vegan experts, and all these people who like everyone's telling me to go to help for. Like I was in contact with a lot of them to get all the research that we have available in the literature for raising vegan kids and just veganism for children. Yeah. And the amount of papers published and the quality of those papers published are extremely poor. And
but there's none. There's not a single study. There's not a single long-term study on vegan children, even though the American Dietetics Association came out and said, well, a vegan, and this is the mantra, right? A vegan diet is appropriate for all people of all ages, including birth, breastfeeding, and all this. But they can't. There's not a single study in that analysis and in that statement that they listed about children. It's pretty kind of scary.
So what happens a lot is that people or researchers and these organizations or doctors, they group vegetarians and vegans or use the term plant-based very broadly, right? So plant-based can mean anything in the scientific literature. It can literally mean that you're eating a Mediterranean diet or something else. So it's really hard. What was shocking to me was to find out the lack of research, and also how that could be the case if these big organizations are actually saying that it's that they can be optimally sustainable for all stages of life. And why are all these vegan doctors and experts who are so into the research themselves, how they could be supporting and appealing to that statement of the American Dietetics Association all the time in their podcasts and interviews. They keep repeating the Dietetics Association statement, right? So that was really what got me down that rabbit hole in terms of like really looking at things more objectively and really questioning every single person, no matter of their status, no matter of their doctorate.
Questioning authorities? You question?
I know.
What about Dr. Gregor? You didn't
cross
question.
the line.
When did you realize that Dr. Greg? I mean, do you? We got Dr. Greger right here. He's popping in. There's Dr. Greger. When did you begin to question this beautiful specimen of a human being, Dr. Greger?
Yeah, so I have to say that, you know, I've never really followed his stuff that much. So, you know, I always say and quote his website as a good resource, but I would never really, you know, follow his live streams or anything like that. So, I always found him a little bit too arrogant to actually be able to listen to him. So, like, I've never really had good vibes from him. And I also know people in real life who have met him in person, and apparently, you know, they didn't have many good things to say either. So I've never really, you know, kind of weighed my opinions based on Dr. Greger or Barnard or any of these guys who claim that eating a steak or even a tiny piece of chicken is the same as smoking a cigarette, and telling these people who are eating meat that they're basically, you know, getting lung cancer for their diet choice of eating animal products. So it's always seemed really far-fetched for me. Even as a hardcore vegan myself, I've never really bought into of those claims and what the health of comparing meat to cigarettes and these things, because, like, who are we kidding? Like, we all know old people in our families who've been eating a lot of animal products and meats, and they're not, you know, they didn't die of cancer like in their 20s or 30s or whatever. Like, they're still alive and they're like 90 years old or 100 years old. So, and obviously just common sense, right? Like, people would have died off a long time ago if we would get heart disease or just like, you know, lung cancer from eating meat, something that we have always done in the history of mankind. So
that's a good point, man. I'm always wondering why some of these intelligent vegans don't question the stupid arguments that get brought up by some of their heroes, right? I mean, Dr. Greger saying that some of the things that Dr. Barnard says, like, you need like 30 grams of protein a day, and then saying you can get all your protein needs from broccoli, where it's like you'd have to eat how many pounds of broccoli just to get, you know, 50 grams of protein. Some of these statements that they make, it amazes me that the vegans don't say, wait a minute, this is bullshit.
Yeah, and I never really watched Dr. Bernard or Dr. Greger's interviews because I didn't really like the way they communicated too much. They didn't speak to me directly. But I do remember watching a London Real episode with Neil Bernard, I think. And that was, I think in that episode, he was actually comparing cheese to heroin or maybe it was meat to cigarettes. I can't remember exactly what it was.
I think all the above. Yeah, all of those.
Right. And multiple times telling Brian Rose, I think his name is, the host, that, you know, eating meat is like extremely dangerous. And I just kept thinking of the parents and just people watching that, listening to that and feeling bad about giving their kids cigarettes basically and feeding their children cigarettes and how, you know, that could impact the emotional health and just how people look at their like actual parenting skills and that kind of stuff. Like, of course we have a huge issue going on in the world and we all know it, and it's processed foods and junk food, but that was like way too far. Like, actually, you know, not even focusing on demonizing processed foods, but focusing on comparing animal foods and all animal foods to drugs and class 1 carcinogens basically. So that was really, really weird. And, you know, I don't know how nobody else thinks that's strange. Maybe people just believe them because they're doctors. Who knows? You know, people like to, I think that, as you know, like, we as humans were taught from a very young age to go to school, listen to the authority teacher and follow the rules. And I think that everyone is in that mindset of just listening to the authority and believing everything those authorities say. So I think it's just a human conditioning that happens from a young age.
Yeah, I mean, I remember when we talked too, that was a big thing that kept coming up. And I was pretty harsh. I said, you know, I believe that feeding a child a vegan diet is child. Yeah. It says awesome. My connection's unstable, but it's coming back and we're live again. So, yeah, when we talked, that was something that I continuously brought up, and I could tell that you were definitely having some doubts about that. And I said, I believe a vegan diet, feeding a child a vegan diet, is abuse. I think it's child abuse. I think it's negligence. Now, does that mean that I think the state should go take away vegan children from their parents? Absolutely not, right? I don't think the state should have the right to go in and impose the will of the state within your family, within your home, for your nutritional choices. All right, but that was...
and I remember you saying that, and of course, like, it takes a lot for me to get triggered and like to get mad or anything like that. So I didn't react personally too much to that, but I do remember getting a little bit defensive because, what else can you do when you're a vegan yourself, right? When a statement like this is made, and
And I wasn't just trying to be offensive. Like, I genuinely care about your family and your child. I don't want them to grow up with rickets or with major nutrient deficiencies. So, I mean, it wasn't out of just, go ahead.
Yeah, and of course, like, you have the right to all the concerns that you have because of stories that come out and actual real evidence that a vegan diet can be, extremely problematic for a lot of people. So of course it's justifiable, I think, for people to say that it's, a less, much less safe route to go. The reason why we always felt comfortable with it was, again, because we had examples of people who were born vegan and were in their 20s, and people who are, raising kids who seem perfectly healthy. But again, when it came down to it, weighing your whole life decision, or not even your life decision, but your child's life decision based on a few anecdotes that seem to be amazing is, wasn't good enough for me anymore, right? So I had to really, take a stance against that and do what I felt was right. And, I'm still open to the idea that it could be possible. Maybe all these kids that are vegan right now are going to grow up to be perfectly healthy. There'll be studies done proving that, if you take A, B, C supplements, then it's possible. But we don't have that data right now, and we can't pretend that we do either, right?
Yeah. I think the nutrient deficiencies thing. I mean, a lot of vegans are, well, what nutrients, John? I mean, you could show me the nutrients. Right. Show me the list. I mean, there are many. I mean, they all concede that vitamin B12, you're going to be deficient on B12. What else? Iron, right? Heme iron, right? And the absorption of non-heme iron, of free iron, is much less than heme iron. And then they'll talk about, vegans and vegetarians actually have increased absorption of iron when they're eating low heme iron. But what they don't say is that they still have 4 times less absorption of iron total than omnivores. In the study that was referenced in the the Nutrition and Dietetics Association in the U.S. So I mean, there's that. Then there's also things like choline, right? And we didn't even know that choline was essential until the late 90s. In the late 90s, they started realizing that babies in the hospitals were getting fatty liver disease when they weren't given choline when they were hospitalized. And then they realized, choline is actually essential. So, I mean, there's so many other things like that it's like there might be things we don't even fully understand yet that these are constantly coming up in nutrition. Vitamin K2 wasn't known about until very recently. Choline, taurine, a lot of these things were not accounted for.
Exactly, and that's one of the biggest reasons why I, decided to move away from this. Just the lack of knowledge that we have, and who knows what else we're going to discover down the line, right? It's just, there's so many things, even from genetics, right? Like the conversion of carotenoids to retinol and vitamin A and these things. Like some people have, or actually a lot of people have a specific gene that makes conversion a little bit harder, right? And some people that have those genes make conversion almost completely impossible. But there's always a argument for all these studies, right? Oh, check this study out that someone was able to reverse this impaired absorption rate by feeding the subject really high amounts of beta carotene through sweet potatoes and carrots. But the fact remains that it's still harder, right? It's still a issue for a lot of people. And especially when you're talking about kids and people who are not able to eat, 2-3 sweet potatoes a day, it could be a issue down the line. And this is just what we know, right? We also know there are different genes that make your requirements for B12 different. And, some supplementations of B12, some types of B12 don't work for some people while others do. And how do you even know which one is going to work for you in particular? Are you just going to give all kinds of different variables and, strands of B12 to a kid that, is just like newborn? like if people want to do that, like I still believe in the right of people to do whatever they feel is right. But I really feel like, you know, this is a much more unsafe way to approach it. And I think that as more science comes out, I do believe that, you know, it's not going to go in the favor of veganism. It's going to go the opposite route. And that is just how I stand right now. Maybe I'm going to be proven wrong. And
so if the studies say that veganism is better, what if the science becomes settled, right? The science is settled. A vegan diet is best for you. All the experts agree, right? The experts like Leo Venus, Dr. Greger, they all agree that vegan diet is best. Then what? You go back to veganism?
Well, that's the thing, right? So first of all, there is no such thing as the science is settled, right? Like even in physics, even in even when it comes to gravity and these like actual real equations that we know or people think that are actual facts and truths, they can be proven to be wrong and change over time. So and I think it's really important to realize that a lot of doctors pretend that they have it all figured out and the science is more than enough, that we have more than enough science to prove that a 100% vegan diet is optimal or suitable for all stages, but like it's not true. And a lot of doctors unfortunately have the belief that, well, of course we can always have more science and more studies showing, you know, A, B, and C, but we have to go with the evidence that we have available. And from what we have available, it does look like, you know, it's possible to be optimally healthy on a plant-based diet, whatever plant-based means. Yeah.
Yeah, well said, man. Well said. Yeah, I think it's about time to head over. We got some super chats here, and one of these super chats from earlier, before you jumped in, when you were setting up your room over there, I've got to reread this one for you. This is Arius Augusta, says, John, so happy for you and your family. I followed your diet advice for 2 to 3 years and ended up with the same issues as you. I can already see you and Catherine glowing with health in your latest video. So that's a nice one.
That's awesome. Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate that.
All right, we've got some other super chats. We got Please Feed Me Waxworms, sends $5, says, I am not a bigot. I will sacrifice my child's health and even its life for the crickets, cows, and chickens. You get some good global citizen points right there. 100 social credit points to you, sir. Rufflesonator sends €5, says, I am not racist. I am trans vegan. Happy for John to be back on the light side of the force. There you go. You guys remember, if you send super chats, you will be proving that you are not racist. One of the only ways to prove that you are not racist and not a bigot is to send super chats. And the science on that is settled by the experts. Wench Hubivore sends £3 and it's just a little chick with a thumbs up. Thanks, Wench Hubivore. Neo Noir 94, what's up, man? Send it £5. £5 says, buy John some eggs. John, I owe you some eggs, man. Next time when you find yourself in South America, when you're back in Brazil, you got to skip over here to Ecuador for a moment, and we'll have some steak and some eggs. Location.
Sounds good, man.
There you go. Location 515 sends $20, proving that he is not a bigot or she is not a bigot. Says send John some colostrum. Yeah, I wish I could. I'll save him some. Next time when he comes down, I'll freeze some. And when John comes and visits, we can have some colostrum. Silverman sends £2. I always get it wrong, but I'm getting it right tonight, guys. £2 from Silverman says, for John to buy Kerrygold butter and make some eggs. So John, I've got like 3 super chats over here that I'm gonna have to buy you some butter, some eggs, and some colostrum. Andrew Herbst sends $2. Says, good job, John. Now become Orthodox. There you go. You win. That's a great one. Appreciate that, and I agree with that emphatically. Duff4580 sends €10. Says, thank you. Laura Painter wins the Super Chat competition so far with a great, generous $24.99 Super Chat. Says, if we limit our friends and family circle to only those who agree with us on everything, no one would have friends or family. Love that this dialogue is happening, and you did this before when he was vegan. Well, the vegans would say he was never really vegan, right? I mean, just talking to me was some sort of a thought crime in veganism. Laura Painter, thank you so much for that one. I agree. John, what do you think about that one? This phenomenon in veganism of people just like denouncing their friends and family. Like there was this Earthling Ed clip we watched in a stream recently, and he said, I feel so sorry for you guys if you have to hang out with your families during this quarantine. Your families might not be vegan. You may be stuck hanging around with non-vegans. What do you think about this sentiment, this like isolate yourself from the world, I can only hang out with vegans?
Yeah, right. And I do think that Earthling Ed, I think I listened to a podcast with him where he said that he had some big issues with his own family. So it's funny that he's the one, making those statements. So yeah, maybe, I think what happens is that a lot of people allow their points of view to become more important than family, than anything in the world, right? And unless someone is willing to say that you're right and you're 100% correct and we're wrong, then you're not going to hang out with them. And I think that's just a extreme mindset that a lot of people have. And I don't know why a lot of people have that, but I do know that a lot of people, and not only vegans, but a lot of people in general, humans, have that need to feel superior and to feel like they're doing something better than other people. And that's just the way it is. And it's sad, but it's obviously it's not going to help like if you're a vegan and you're trying to get other people to see the world the way you're seeing it, or to open their eyes up to the issues with factory farming, for example, you're not going to get there by distancing yourself from everyone and just complaining, right? So it's just a weird tactic.
But it's for the animals. You're distancing yourself from everyone and complaining online and LARPing like an activist for the animals.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely not a smart strategy, in my opinion. Yeah.
Nice, man. All right. Arius Augusta. Or no, I'm sorry. Tommy Kelly. Tommy Kelly. You guys, shout out to Tommy, formerly Tofu Tommy. Tommy's going to come on the stream really soon. He's another former vegan. He was doubling down for a while. Like, he was vehemently anti-ex-vegan, if I remember correctly. Tofu Tommy was hardcore vegan activist. I mean, there's pictures of this dude with Joey Carbstrong and with all these other activist groups. And Tommy sends pounds. Sends pounds. He's over in the UK. Says, sending best wishes to John. You were one I looked up to, and you never came across like Joey Carbstrong, and you've nothing to apologize for.
Cool. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate that. And I'm not apologizing.
Good. Yeah, that's what I liked about your video. You didn't really apologize. And yeah, maybe we could talk about your response video and the responses to your video in a minute. Oh, Arius Acosta sends 10 USDs, says, no, he has Jasmine delete any comments that don't support him. Any debate he does, if you are against him in the chat, you'll be muted. Tristan, could you reread my first super chat? All right, we already reread that. What do you think about that? The consensus is false. They're just deleting the detractors.
Yeah. Yeah, that might be why there was such a positive response towards his claims all the time. Who knows? But I do remember when he made that one video about his coaching, and I wrote a comment, like a public comment from my channel on his page, on his YouTube video, about how I was helping him just now, and this is really strange and not a very nice thing to do, and that was hidden immediately, right? So nobody was able to see that. So that's just the way people I'm actually blocking people now because a lot of people are spreading misinformation. So I get how some people just need to be blocked from your page.
I won't criticize for blocking, man. I got a block list longer than Dr. Greger's hair. Longer than I don't know. Longer than Vegan Gains' gaming streams. So yeah, I'm all for the blocking. All right, John Titor sends $5, says, keep up the great work, Tristan. Thank you, John Titor. Loveherd? I don't know how to pronounce that. We got someone over in Norway, though, says, you're the man, John Venus. Oh, my goodness. Spismak kjok og like til med familien. Hilsen fra Oslo.
Tusen takk. I got that. That was a great pronunciation.
There you go. It's my Viking blood. Danny B sends $2, says, John, did you realize veganism is a religion?
Great question. So, I wouldn't say that it is a religion. Like, it's not considered a religion, but the way that it behaves a lot of time, I can see why people will make that comparison. Although that kind of, some people that are like, I would say the bad part of veganism is not like a religion. It's more like a cult where people operate out of manipulation and lies and just trying to keep people in by shaming and threats and that kind of stuff. So I wouldn't really compare it to a religion, because religions can be beautiful and awesome. So yeah, like, and again, like, that's not to say that there are a lot of amazing vegans out there as well, who are like good people who have good intentions, and they just believe that this lifestyle is the best for their health. But again, when we're talking about the people who are the haters, the more extreme people who are shouting murder and all these things, I would say it's more like a cult rather than a religion, in my opinion. I don't know what your point of view is on that, Tristan, but
yeah, for sure. I mean, I think it's definitely a cult. I mean, it's one of the veganism is one of the tools that cults, veganism and vegetarianism, right? The abstinence of animal foods and the feeding of nutrient deficient diet has been used as a method of control in cults for a long time. I think it actually absolutely functions like a cult. When you look at a lot of these new age cults, all of them prescribe a vegan diet. Like one of those, there was that documentary about Osho's cult. It was, I've actually known some people that were in the Osho cult, and they were highly vegetarian, also very antinatalist. Osho used to promote vasectomies and make the men sterilize themselves, and would make the women get abortions as well. So there are a lot of tie-ins in the vegan cult.
Was Durian Rider part of that one?
Durian Rider, unfortunately, no. He tried to start his own little version of it, but he's only able to get like 1 or 2 cult members at a time. So maybe in a few years he'll figure out how to get a harem, like Osho was able to do. I mean, Osho had thousands of women that were just bowing before him. But I mean, like the Jim Jones cult, diet played a part in all of these new age cults, and I think I think that's a fair comparison. And Jay Dyer and I, shout out to Jay Dyer, we've done some streams talking about the cult nature of veganism, and yeah, so a Coffee Bean sends a $5 super chat, says, John, welcome back to humanity. John definitely looks happier and more comfortable compared to the last time he was on your live. I agree. I think John's chilled out, and I feel like I could ask John anything and not get like a facade. And that's what I told him before. I was like, dude, I want like the real John. I don't want facade, and I'm going to ask you hard questions. So if you guys do have any hard questions for John Venus, you want to hit those super chats, we can hit on those. And
nothing's off limits.
Nothing's off limits. All right, man. So
I'm gonna pop outside real quick, take a piss, but I'll be right back.
All right. Well, because he's not vegan anymore, so he doesn't have to poop. He just has to pee. When last time when he was still vegan, he had to poop during the stream. So let me make sure I don't read any super chats that John needs to hear. We've got a bunch of super chats for John. Oh, we got iPhone. Well, we'll read that later when John can hear it. All right, guys. What do you guys think? I think we're seeing like more of the real John here. It doesn't seem too guarded. It seems pretty stoked. Look at what's with all the murder in the background of John's. John, I think he's at some family's house, and they're hunters. So I'm looking forward to seeing John do some hunting content. When's he going to do some hunting content? Maybe while John's gone, we can talk to Dr. Greger. Oh, well, it's just, how many times can you leave veganism? Well, once or twice, 3 times. You just eat some more slippies, chippies, lentils, and maybe you can avoid the nutrient deficiencies. Dr. Greger coming at you live from the treadmill in hell. Okay, here we're back. John's back. We got almost all the super chats are addressing you, so we got some more. NA.Guru sent in some Czech dollars, I think. Says, John, we need the video you eating a steak for the first time. Too late. You already had some steaks. You showed me some pictures in DM.
Actually, wow, what's happening now?
Oh, how's the audio? Tell me if we're good.
Yeah.
Hear me?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah. How about that?
Some weird thing happened. Steak, yeah. I actually haven't had any steak yet, like a actual cattle or beef steak. I've had different steaks, but only. Can you see me?
Yeah, I can see you. I can hear you. Are we getting some issues in Zoom? Tell me if I'm back. We're good?
Yeah. It looks like we're kind of like frozen.
Okay,
I
let
can
me.
hear you, but your picture's frozen.
Do you want to try
There you
just?
go.
Okay. If we're good, let me know. If not, you can leave the Zoom and then come back if you want.
I think we're good.
Yeah. All right. So the pictures you sent me, those were like some deer steak, and they looked so lean. They looked like way too lean. He's getting issues.
Okay.
There we
Now
go.
I'm pretty sure it's good. Yeah, it's something with my headphones. I just bought these a couple weeks ago, so I don't know how to use them yet. Steak, yeah, I haven't had any beef steak yet, so maybe that'll be, I'll save that for the first time on camera. We'll see if I can find some good grass-fed, sustainable, regenerative agriculture steak, then I'll give it a go. But it's pretty hard to find here, from my understanding.
What about lamb? Is there good lamb there? Because you showed me a picture of like your neighbor had some sheep.
Yeah, so lamb is something that my grandpa would like. So he was a sheep farmer, right? And up until maybe 12 years ago, he had sheep. And so I grew up just, around sheep. And every time we visited him, it was really, really cool to see like the sheep giving birth to these lambs. And then obviously the traditional Christmas dinner here is kind of like salted lamb ribs, basically. But the issue is like a lot of these, like I don't even know, because like I'm so new to this whole thing that I don't even know how these animals are raised, what's like actually healthy feed, what's not healthy, what they're actually giving them. I know that my grandpa used to use a lot of corn and grains and that kind of stuff, and which don't seem ideal to me. But there's a lot of sheep around here. I just don't know how they're raised. So right now I've just been taking advantage of our current situation and eating stuff that I 100% know that is, clean food, right? So you can see the antlers hanging on the wall here. So my father-in-law and my uncle and my grandpa and a lot of people around here are hunters. And there's a huge abundance of deer, a little bit of reindeer, some moose, and some, I don't even know what the English name is for this other kind of animal that is around here. But they're kind of roaming around. Like if I drive from this place, from Catherine's parents' place to my grandpa's place, I'm guaranteed to see deer almost every time. Like they're always, eating grass, close to neighborhoods and stuff like that. So I've, I can guarantee that is from the valley here. I can guarantee that they're, just eating real food instead of like chemically sprayed grains and these things, and that they were killed in a way that I think is a good way to go most of the time, right? So for me, that has made the most sense so far. And again, I'm only 6 weeks or 7 weeks into not being vegan anymore. So that's just what's been making the most sense so far. And also fishing, because there's a lot of fish here. So I've been fishing a lot.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about, well, first of all, let me say like what I think about feeding animals grains. I think that's a really good topic. And I think a lot of vegans, a lot of future ex-vegans will call them, because they're all future ex-vegans. You guys admit it. You're all future ex-vegans. You're on the fence the whole time you're a vegan. I got some questions about that for John after this. But as far as what you should feed a ruminant animal, I don't see any problem with feeding some grain to animal. It's something we've always done, especially in transition periods where there's not as much pasture. But the problem, especially in the U.S., is this massive consolidated feedlot system that's owned by a few corporations, all the GMO crap that they're feeding these things, essentially feeding them kibble for much of their life cycle to fatten them up, and then they have to give them antibiotics because they're giving them such high amounts of these grains. That's the problem. The problem is not feeding some grains to the animals in transition periods and when there's not a lot of pasture. The problem is the massive consolidated feedlot system that's run and owned by basically 4 corporations own all the slaughter facilities in the U.S. And Cargill is one of those who also runs, I think Cargill is like 50% of the international grain trade. Right? So yeah, it's 50% of the international grain trade. So like if you're buying beef from a store, you're always going to want to get grass-fed, right? Grass-finished. Yeah, so I mean, a lot of people will then, so I definitely have a problem with the feedlot system, with the consolidated feedlot food system, which is absolutely horrendous and does not result in a very quality fat, doesn't result in very good animal health, also creates massive issues with manure, right? That manure should be laid on pasture. All that manure should be on pasture, creating regeneration, putting back carbon into the soil, putting back methanotropic bacteria into the soil. So the regenerative model is most definitely superior, and you see a lot of friends at the channel doing the regenerative model, and so that's what I think about that. So all right, we got more super chats for you, man. They're just coming at you. We got iPhone Musing since $2 says John is a punk, pass it on, and he's got a V with a he's got a little V for vegan.
Oh yeah.
Sign there. He also says iPhone Musings will hit both of his super chats. He says, is John a flat earthen? John, are you a flat earthen?
Flat earthen. No, I'm just kidding. No, I have never even thought about that, and until I think it was Tim Sheep started, or at least like what I've heard. I used to be friends with Tim and talk to him, quite a bit, but I've never talked to him about this topic. But that was like the first time I've ever heard about the flat Earth theory in general. So definitely not a flat earther or earthen myself.
Earthen, I don't get what earthen is. Earthen is flat earthen, not earther. Earthen. Maybe it was a typo. The R is really far from the N, though, but whatever. All right, so thanks, iPhone Musings. I hope that satiates your curiosity. Bart K, nutrition science watchdog from New Zealand, says, hi, boys and gals. What did I miss? John was never vegan and did it wrong? That was a terrible New Zealand accent. I'm sorry. I had to do it in a New Zealand accent. What's up, Bart K? Shout out to Bart K. Are you familiar with Bart K's channel?
Only through my brother, and his his so-called debate that never happened, right? So that's the only kind of. I've checked out one video, I think, a while back, and when I search my name now, I think he's made a video recently, but I only know about him through Leo. Because I think they were supposed to have a debate, which has not happened because apparently, Bart K is being a clown. I don't know what's going on there, but that's the only extent to what I know. But at the same time, I also have other people who have talked about him before as a great source for kind of understanding the current science that we have available and how to look at and how to analyze the studies that we have to understand why they're potentially flawed. That's what I've heard, and if that is the case, that's really awesome. We need more people like that because I'm not aware of anyone doing that. So,
all right, so we got to maybe we'll see if we can get Leo and Bart K to finally do that debate. Bart K called out Leo a long time ago. Leo accepted.
I don't think Leo's gonna do it.
Why not?
I don't know. I asked him. I think. Was it this weekend or maybe it was last weekend? I don't know. I asked him like, what's going on with, are you doing any debates? What happened to Bart K? I think he decided that it's a waste of time and he's not going to do it, but maybe he changes his mind.
Yeah, that'd be cool. We'll see. He told me that he would debate Bart K, but then he didn't like the way that Bart wanted to structure it. And then I went back to Bart. I said, hey, Bart, he didn't like the way you want to structure it. And Bart says, okay, we'll just do it like a conversation. And so anyways, I'm still down to host Bart and Leo doing a debate. I think that'd be fun. Or maybe Leo can debate Sean Baker again. They could do a round 2. Round 1, Leo tried to act like he didn't even know who Sean Baker was after calling him out for the debate. And that was kind of a failure on Leo's part, in my opinion. But yeah, we'll see. What did you think about Sean Baker and Leo's debate?
Yeah, so I think I watched half of it, and I'm not sure who, maybe you said it at the end or maybe it was a super chat in there, but it was basically that it was not structured in a way that we could get like that the one person could refute certain points of the other. It was kind of like one of them spoke for like 15 minutes and then the other one spoke for like 5 minutes, and it was too long to kind of discuss one certain topic and get to the bottom of one thing. So I think there's a huge opportunity for nutrition science debates online, and I actually told Garth Davis on his post publicly not long ago when he made a video about me that we should set up some public debates between experts from different camps and discuss certain studies and to come for the audience to kind of see both sides and come to their own understanding and learn more, because I think it's really important. But yeah, like I think if we can get that going, but like in a format that works, that is entertaining and quick and fast paced, I think it could be really, really eye opening for a lot of people and super helpful.
Yeah, I agree. It'd be nice to get some of those. It doesn't seem like these vegans like accepting these debates, though, for some reason. I haven't been able to get many of these vegans to accept the debate. Although Leo did agree to debate Paul Saladino, but then I don't know if Paul Saladino wants to do it. Paul Saladino's, I think he's too Hollywood now for Leo. I think he's too Hollywood for this guy. He's trying to work on that Joe Rogan invite or something. I don't know what's up. But yeah, Paul didn't seem like he was too interested in it, but we'll see. Maybe I could follow up. Maybe Darth Gavis and Paul could do a good one or something. I don't know. I'd like to see.
Yeah, I think I would love to see. I think Leo, he's very new to these things, and I wouldn't consider him a representative of like.
The science
community.
The science. If you ask Leo, it seems like Leo believes that Leo is the science. Leo looks in the mirror and sees the science.
Yeah, I mean, like he like to his like to be nice as a brother. Like he's got a very special brain that he can memorize facts and stats like nobody else I've ever met before. So he has a special talent for memorizing things like crazy, and I've always been told by all the teachers that have ever taught him that he has a very special gift in memorizing things. So in that sense, he's amazing, but of course, like he doesn't spend much time researching. So like I would rather see someone like Neil Bernard or Dr. Greger, which is not going to happen. Like they know that they're they couldn't stand a chance in some of these things. So
I like watching those two just debate themselves on what's his name,
Right.
Brian Rose. On that show, if you look at Neil Barnard on there and then Dr. Greger, those are the best refutations of veganism right there. Just some of the things that those guys said on the Brian Rose channel, London Real. So shout out to Neil Barnard and Dr. Greger for helping us to debunk veganism by just being themselves. Appreciate you guys.
Yeah.
All right, so we got.
I just really want people to, like, vegans, if you're watching, just challenge these people. Just challenge the vegan doctors that we're following. Just challenge them to disclose what they mean when they say plant-based, what the research actually says, because every time that I look at it, it's never 100% vegan. It's never what they seem to be portraying, right? So I think, and this is not to make a stir in the vegan community or anything. I think it just has to do with honesty and transparency. And I think using this umbrella term plant-based and pretending that means vegan is really dangerous and dishonest. So I really want people to challenge these doctors that they look up to be more honest in that sense. Okay.
Well, I think that's it. What are some of the things that you think? Let's go through some of the poor arguments for veganism's efficacy for children or for everybody that were really sticking out for you. If you want to just list a few of them that come to mind, like what are some of the poor arguments that get used?
Well, for me, again, like I said before, it's the lack of research that is the main issue for me, and also, apart from the lack of research, it is the statement by these big organizations like the American Dietary Association. I think actually Plant-Based News, I think, emailed me today saying that Garth that Garth Davis made a video about me, saying that it was so ridiculous that the American Dietetics Association would be biased towards a vegan diet and blah 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 and these things. I didn't check out the whole video, but I saw the little clip on Instagram, I think from Joey or something, or maybe it was Plant-Based News linking Joey's video. I'm not sure what it was, but essentially, saying that the meat and dairy industry owns the American Dietetics Association, therefore they cannot be biased towards vegans and make these claims. But again, when you look at the paper, especially for the American Dietetics Association, the paper is actually published by Seventh-day Adventists, and their belief is, removing animal products, or at least limiting them as much as possible. Mm-hmm. So there is a agenda behind that. And if I'm not mistaken, the whole American Dietetics Association was actually started by a person following that religion himself. And a lot of senior members from a lot of processed food companies seem to be members of that religion as well. So there are a lot of question marks. It's not just, conspiracy theory and just bullshit that we're talking about. Like, there are some legitimate concerns regarding these associations and the corruption and the funding that goes into them. So I think people need to be a little bit more careful. And again, when you look at what people, like all these doctors are claiming that this statement is of the highest power, right? Because it's on the top of the hierarchy of evidence.
It's their mantra. It's like it's the new, the definition of veganism. Right. A lot of these people have memorized the American Dietetics Association says that a vegan diet is healthful and good and sustainable for all people.
A lot of times they say the World Health Organization by mistake.
Yeah, right, exactly. So they call upon this as if it's, that if it's been handed down from Mount Olympus, but it really crumbles under just a little bit of scrutiny. And I think that's so important to look at who published this. Just go look at that study. It's not even a study, it's a statement. And look at the so-called scientists who signed it and who put their name on it. And they said that there was no conflict of interest, yet it's run by ethical vegans. It's put out there by ethical vegans and Seventh-day Adventists. So there's clear conflicts of interest. I've got this pulled up right here. Airhead John Venus blasted after realizing he's no longer vegan. The news was described as no surprise by vegan advocate Joey Carbstrong. So it doesn't have an author on this. There's no author on this trash article from Plant-Based News. Remember, guys, you remember who owns Plant-Based News? This is owned by Prince Khalid, one of the biggest international global investment capital firms. KBW Ventures is run by Prince Khalid, who's the son of Prince bin Al-Walid bin Talal, who is a Saudi royal who is involved in all sorts of interesting international things, even owns, I think it's like 4% of Twitter, and bought with Bill Gates, purchased the Four Seasons back in like 2004. And that's who owns Plant-Based News. So, of course, they're a totally non-biased company run by a Saudi prince and owned by a Saudi prince. So, I thought that was kind of an interesting thing right there. But yeah, well said, John. We've got these people are not relenting on these super chats, so we've got some more of these to hit, and then if you got time, I've got more questions for you. I have infinite questions for John. A lot of time. Cool. It's evening there, right?
Yeah, it's 11:30 now, so pretty. It's past my bedtime, as you can probably tell by my face. I usually go to sleep like at 10 or so, but it's all good.
Cool, man. Appreciate you coming on. I know it's a little late. I think this is a great time for the audience, too, because it's people in the U.S. can catch it. Some people in Europe can. Danny B says, John, which food do you crave the most? Tristan, too. Thanks, Danny.
I don't really have any cravings. Even when I was a vegan, I didn't have any cravings for any animal products, to be honest. So, yeah. I feel like nowadays, because especially when you're vegan and you have a craving for something, there is a meat alternative that is supposed to mimic something. And I don't know, like I've always been a huge fan of rump steak. Has always been my favorite food as a kid growing up with the Brazilian barbecues and stuff. So the rump steak is I guess, would be the first thing that I missed when going vegan. But then, you know, because you train your brain and you just focus on the ethics and all these things, you kind of, you don't have any cravings at all. So I haven't had any cravings since, to be honest with you.
So back when you first started, how would you get rid of those animal food cravings? How would you like kind of push those away?
Well, it just, I know, I waited it out. Like, it probably only lasted a couple of weeks max. And back then when I went vegan, there weren't any mock meats, at least not in Europe where I lived. And shortly after I went vegan, I moved to Norway, to this village right here, which has absolutely nothing. I was just eating whole foods. So there was no way to kill that craving, even if I wanted to, with mock meats or anything like that. But it didn't really last too long.
All right. So foods that I crave the most, I don't really, I mean, I eat all the foods that I crave, right? So I don't know. I really like raw milk. I think cheese, right? Cheese that's one of my favorite foods right there. Cheese, aged cheese. And Jessica's been making this
kibble?
Plant-based kibble. Not so much. I don't miss the kibble. Although I did grow up on the kibble, man. I grew up on the Lucky Charms and all that stuff, and yeah, I used to eat that all the way up through college. But as far as maybe like foods that are not so healthy, I don't know, like French bakery stuff is really good, and the French use a lot of butter and that's why you got the French paradox, right? They're eating a lot of grains, a lot of baked goods and carbohydrates, and a lot of fat, but they don't have high diabetes, they don't have obesity issues, and they don't have heart disease issues. Why is that? Well, they're not using the freaking vegetable oil, they cook in butter. So I like some French bakery butter stuff, if like, you know, for an unhealthy, so-called unhealthy food. I'll say that, but yeah.
Croissants are amazing.
Yeah, right, but I like a cinnamon roll, like a baked cinnamon roll with maybe a little bit of honey and sugar and cinnamon, that stuff. So there you go. There's a naughty food. And I love ice cream, but I don't think ice cream's necessarily bad. Like, we could make an ice cream using raw honey, raw milk, and raw cream, and it's really good. And that's actually in the Carnivore Cookbook. So that's like all good quality foods that we can get locally, and we can make our own ice cream. So those are some throwing out there, some more like, I don't know what you call it, pornographic foods, I guess. iPhone Musing sends $5, says, maybe someday your head will be on someone's wall, John. What do you think? Wow. That'd be quite the scene. It's nice to know that's what you're thinking about. Are you hungry?
I mean, I'd be honored, you know, if when I die I get hung up on the wall.
Whose wall would you want your head on? Which vegan celebrity?
I mean, I'll have to give Durian Rider that pleasure, I think.
Durian Rider. What about Raz from the Chaz? You know about Raz, the warlord of the Autonomous Zone? He's gonna have some heads on his wall soon. So, all right, thanks a lot. Hey, Bobby's Perspective, what's up, dude? Bobby's Perspective sending some euros, sends 20 euros. Thanks, man. Says vaccines are great. 5G is healthy. Veganism is the way. There is no God. John is roiping animals, and Tristan brainwashed him. Sad face. So, channeling his former vegan self, Bobby. Thank you, Bobby. Appreciate that. Some great trans vegan language you sent in our way. The Real Cooter Brown just sends $3.50. Thanks. iPhone Musings is back. Says, Tristan, I like you. We don't agree on many things, but I do not think you are fake. John, on the other hand, is a phony little punk. So iPhone Musings, that's all the mean ones we've seen so far from iPhone Musings. I think he doesn't like you. But,
is he a vegan? Or carnivore?
He's got a V. He's got a V with a leaf on it.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's, I think the main criticism I get is that I'm a liar. So I lied about the egg thing. I lied about you know, I'm lying about using steroids, and this is a thing that has been coming up again now that I announced that I'm no longer vegan. All the vegans that were supporting me are now calling me out for being on steroids when. Before they were saying that I was natural and supporting the fact that I was natural. And, you know, just people think that I'm dishonest, and that's okay. Like, I really don't care. But I've never been dishonest in any video. Like, people think I was dishonest for waiting, you know, 8 months or however many months it was for talking about the egg thing. But that's not dishonesty, you know.
You should have confessed immediately. You should have confessed before Vegan Gains and Dr. Greger immediately.
Like, yeah, you don't share things that happen in your life in real time. Like, if you lose your virginity, you're not going to share it online to your audience. You know, it doesn't make any sense. But yeah, like, truth and honesty is what I'm about. And I know people, you know, probably don't believe that, but
see if we can catch you in some lies. Let's see. What do you guys? Have you guys got any? How do you think John Venus is lying? Send a super chat and we'll ask John Venus.
I love that.
So let me ask this. Were you eating egg? All right. How many eggs did you eat in Egg Gate? You said you ate 3 eggs, and then you said you couldn't really remember it. Were you being dishonest there, or did you legitimately not even remember how many eggs you ate, or were you nervous and didn't want to get smashed by the gods of veganism like Vegan Gains?
No, so I bought 12 eggs, if I'm not mistaken, and I probably ate 3 or 4 of them. And I don't know what I said in the video, if I said 3, if I said 12, who knows? But I bought 12, so, you know, whatever. Like, just because you don't remember exactly the number of eggs you ate 8 months ago doesn't mean that you're lying, you know? But yeah, who the hell cares anyway?
It was one meal? How many meals was it?
Yeah, I think it was 2 over the span of 2 days, I think. Yeah,
Okay.
so one day I had like 2 hard-boiled eggs, and then the next one I had like a scramble or something like that.
And what about the animals? What do you think they think about that, John?
Yeah, well, you know, that's you know, I tried asking them, but they didn't reply, so.
Okay. Well, you can ask
No,
your new chickens that you're about to have. You can ask them how they feel about that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's actually a huge project that we're working on right now, getting our own chickens. So that's going to be super interesting. Yeah, we've been, Catherine's little brother, even Noah, has been kind of like, you know, helping us tidy the hen house and everything.
Dude, he's gonna be stoked. Ariana loves the chickens. And she was like,
he is already like super pumped. Yeah.
Yeah. She's still really good with them. Ariana does most of the work with the chickens, except for like building the structure for them and stuff. But she's great at taking care of them. She's been picking them up and holding them. She used to play this game when she was like 4, when she would see how many chickens she could get in her lap at one time and hold. And she'd chase them around and catch them. I'm stoked for you guys. Cool. All right. So like, if I think of any more ways I could try to catch you in a lie, I'll throw that in. Oh yeah.
Try all day, man.
Why were eggs in your fridge? Remember, people were saying, "Look, there's eggs in John Venus." Somebody even sent me.
Right?
Well, someone sent me an email around the same time. It was probably the same person sent me an email with a screenshot saying, "Look, there's eggs in the fridge for John Venus." I'm not about to make some dumbass video like that, but of course, Stinky Fingers Flake Too Fatal made a video calling you out. Why were there eggs in your fridge, dude?
Yeah, so like all of my followers knew already. Like, I live in my when I'm in Norway, I live with my my wife's parents, and they're not vegan, right? So they had eggs and animal foods in their fridge and their freezer, and antlers in the wall and everything like that. So that's the explanation. It's pretty simple.
Okay, well then maybe that's just a really well-crafted lie.
Exactly. And actually, I think that I'm surprised that I think there was one person who sent me a image once that they caught me on a story buying, or it wasn't, you know, me buying it, but we were in the grocery store with my wife's parents, and they were buying a whole chicken, right? And I think that someone, like, I was making a story, and I think someone was able to catch it. There was a chicken in there.
Yeah.
And they screenshot it to me and said, like, what is this? And I complained and stuff like that. But I don't think that made its way to Frank Tufano. Luckily, that would have been a lot
It would expose you, bro. It would expose you for
exactly.
the liar you are. All right. Yeah. I'll try to think of another. We'll see. Maybe the audience will help. I'm sure the vegans in the audience will help. Take Off Your Blinkers says, I suppose John won't be reading bedtime stories to chickens anymore. What do you think about that? You know what do you know what he's talking about there? Have you seen those annoying vegans on Instagram? Follow them. Everybody follow those annoying vegans on Instagram and watch their daily stories. Inspiring.
Yeah. I had no idea about them until you made a video about or had a debate with them, right? And then in a stream, or maybe it was somewhere else, I saw them reading a book to them. And then they made a video response to me, and I actually watched a few seconds or a few minutes of it because it was pretty long, so I didn't watch the whole thing. There were too many videos made about me. But they said that they met me in real life, and I actually do remember meeting the guy, not the girl. So the guy, I do remember meeting him in a pig vigil in LA Pig Save, and I do remember that. And he was actually a nice guy. Compared, like he was the only positive like person out of the like everyone who's there. Like it was a really depressing sight.
Yeah.
So he was nice and came up and talked to me about fitness and all these things. So
Did you go to more vigils after that?
I've been to 2. So the second time, so the first time I made like I vlogged the experience, and I found it really, really strange. So I actually made a video about it, and I actually got a lot of hate from vegans and activists because I made I gave my honest thoughts about what I experienced that day, which was a lot of people, you know, sobbing and feeling really depressed and sad. And I was just making the point that, you know, you're not gonna create any change just, you know, being all depressed like that. and also something that I didn't put in the vlog because it would be too much. I think it was really strange that, you know, and I'm not saying that they're doing this with intention. They're obviously trying to help the animals, giving them water and stuff like that. But when sometimes the trucks would pull up and it'll be complete silence. It'll be like as if there were no animals in the truck at all, right? So they'll stop, you know, the activists would stop the truck, and they would all of a sudden just like stick, you know, the huge lights in there. And then all of a sudden you'll just hear like screaming, like huge
Exactly.
noises
They're torturing these animals. Like when Joey Carbstrong breaks into these pig farms in the middle of the night, when the animals are sleeping, they turn on the lights, and all of a sudden there's some strange people around that they've never been around before. These people have no idea how to behave around animals, and they're taking pictures with their phones, and they're, you know, yelling across the room to each other. They're freaking these animals out. I'm glad you noticed that.
Yeah, so I would say that it wasn't, you know, all the time, but, you know, some of the trucks, they were, you know, awake and they seemed really thirsty, and they provided a service to the pigs. But other times, like I just said, it's like they were freaking them out and making it a lot worse. So it's not really a 100% success rate for sure.
Yeah. I get that. Every time I look, the light is different on the OBS because I got a skylight in this room. I need to get the professional lighting on fleek. So there we go. Just change the exposure on my camera so you guys can see my bald ass. All right. Cool, man. Yeah, that's a really good point. And I did a video about these vegan, I forget what it's called, about Joey Carbstrong and these people freaking out these animals, and how when they do their activism, they are actually causing harm to these animals. And how do you think these people get footage? They get footage, they pay for footage of people abusing animals in these slaughter facilities and in these farms. How do you think they're getting that? Are they really stopping animal cruelty by paying already very, very low income workers to get them footage of animal abuse? It seems really, really sketchy to me.
Yeah, I guess they think of it as like greater good, right? Like, you know, freak these animals out to save the other ones, you know. I guess that's how they justify it. I don't know.
Vegans got caught paying workers on a transport vessel to close all the windows and stress the animals out with heat stress on this, what do they call it, live animal transport of a bunch of sheep, to get them footage. So they're actually paying these workers to abuse the animals for them. It's crazy. Let's see. Take off your blinkers. Oh, you already read that one. I already read that. Coach Charles. What's up, Coach? How you doing, man? Coach Charles, good to see you. Another ex-vegan says, glad to see John converting to our trans-vegan community. We take you with open arms, plus kudos to you, Tristan, for keeping the hustle during these times. Hey, dude, first of all, you don't convert to trans-veganism. You're born this way. So I'm not going to ban you for the transphobia, but like, you got to understand we're born this way. And, but yeah, I appreciate the super chat. And Coach Charles, I'm glad you're doing well, dude. Bob Rock, thanks for the super chat. Sends 10 euros, doesn't even say anything. Just sends a picture that looks just like a cartoon drawing of me, some bald dude with a beard. The Real Cooter Brown sends $2.50, says vegan culture is an endless appeal to credentials. What do you think about that statement?
Well, vegan science and nutrition science is definitely based on appeal to authority, right? So,
Yeah.
or credential, as this guy says. So, yeah, I think that a lot of times, if not all the times, like even no matter if it's a street activist or a nutrition YouTuber or a actual vegan doctor, they all seem to use the same tactics and appeal to authority. And that's what they're trained to do, right? So you can't really expect anything else.
There you go. Carnivore Yogi. Thanks, Carnivore Yogi. Another good channel out there. I know you do some good content on carnivore. Sends $9.99. Appreciate that. Carnivore Yogi says, thanks for bringing up the fact that veganism and vegetarianism have historically been used to control the masses. How do people still not understand this? I mean, a simple look at India, right? And the British love the Indian caste system and the Hindu caste system because it's very, very convenient for ruling elite and oligarch elite to control people. And it is always, nutrition has always been used as a means of control. You control the food, you control the people. iPhone Musings says, John is lying if he says he's not a punk. Easy test. Well, Garland Farms, there you go. Thanks, Garland Farms. Shout out to Garland Farms. He's a regenerative agriculture. He's a regenerative beef, and I think he does some lambs and maybe goats too, producer in Texas. If you guys are in Texas, hit up Garland Farms for some meat. Says, ask John to tell us his current position on dietary cholesterol, heme iron, and B12.
Interesting.
Cholesterol first.
Cholesterol first. So obviously when you're vegan, you demonize cholesterol. And I think not even if you're vegan, if you're accepting of the current paradigm and the current recommendations, you demonize cholesterol, right? The way I look at it now is that we don't know exactly what happens. And I know that a lot of people who are very, very smart and do a lot of research have said that, the cholesterol itself is not an issue, right? So I can't, I'm in the transition of coming out of this whole anti-cholesterol thing myself. So I can't really say that I've looked too deeply into the research, but I do know that some people have, for example, mentioned that even some of the government guidelines have removed cholesterol as a risk for heart disease or something like that. There have been some changes to those guidelines that have been going on quietly behind the scenes. I don't know what they are. I just know that there is a lot of research coming out that is, counteracting the point and the belief that cholesterol is a risk factor for developing heart disease and that kind of stuff. But I can't tell you much more than that.
Cool. What about heme iron? What is your position on heme iron? Because I know a lot of vegans, they like to act like heme iron is a bad thing, right? That's the animal form of iron, very bioavailable and digestible. Is that something you've looked much into?
No, not really, because again, I've been focusing on vegan nutrition or plant-based nutrition for so long, and in terms of plant-based nutrition, of course, you can increase the bioavailability of iron by adding vitamin C and these things, and eating enough legumes and grains and nuts and seeds will increase your iron intake. For most people, they can do well. For a lot of other people, they can't get enough that way, even with adding vitamin C and eating those foods. So for me, it just makes sense that if there is an iron source that is more bioavailable for these people who have trouble getting it from non-heme iron, it's going to be a benefit, right, for them to get enough iron into their system. So if they need iron in their system and it's harder to get it from plant foods, then it doesn't make sense that heme iron in itself is going to be bad. Maybe in super high dosages, it may not be the best, but it doesn't make sense to demonize any single nutrient, in my opinion, and blame it on different health outcomes. It doesn't make much sense to me personally.
What about B12?
So this is funny because ever since I made the video about no longer being vegan, I mentioned B12 and everyone's like, B12, everyone knows that you have to take a supplement. Everyone knows, as if I didn't know that vegans have to take a B12 supplement, and the responses are hilarious. It's like as if people are talking to me as if I'm a 5-year-old child that has no idea about nutrition or health, or that I have never coached anyone on this lifestyle at all. But I did bring up B12 in the video, just an example of something that is absent from the diet, right? And ever since I made that video, I have had people contacting me saying that you don't need B12, like it's a myth. Like, I've grown up vegan, I'm vegan my whole life, I'm 30 years old, I've never taken B12, I swear.
They send you pictures? Are they anonymous though?
No pictures or proof or anything like that, right?
Okay.
But it's interesting that people all of a sudden are claiming to be lifelong vegans who have never supplemented with B12. So my stance on B12, I mean, like, if there is a huge amount of evidence suggesting that you need B12, and it's a consensus, I guess, in the scientific community that you do need it and it's essential, and you cannot get it from anywhere else other than animal foods, right? And people will always say in the vegan community, and I didn't even say this myself because I know it's not true, that the only way the meat eaters are getting B12 is because the animals are supplemented with B12, right?
That's the worst argument. What do you think about that? Yeah, what do you think about that argument?
Well, I've never used that argument myself. I hope I have. Maybe I have in the first few months of being vegan. Who knows? Yeah. But it's like if you do a simple Google search, you can find that is not the case at all. If not, humans would never have B12 before the invention of supplements, right?
It's funny because
it's a ridiculous argument.
What they say is,
know that,
they'll be like, oh, look at this supplement that has B12 in it. And it's like a multivitamin supplement that's injectable for animals, right? You're giving an animal, if it's sick or something, you might give it an injection of a bunch of vitamins to help it gain weight. And if that has B12 in it, then they'll say, oh, look, everyone gives their animals B12 because the animals don't even get it. And that's absolutely untrue. None of the animals that we have here get B12 ever.
Exactly. And second myth that I was actually a person who believed this for the longest time was that we could get B12 from our water streams and from eating dirt in our vegetables, right? And that was the way that us as our ancestors got B12. And who knows? Like, maybe you could get some trace amounts if you eat dirt or whatever, but there is no proof that is the case, right? So why make such a strong claim for something that has not been proven? I know that people tend to point to the Game Changers movie as a reference for this to be true, because they point out that B12 is produced by bacteria, and the bacteria is in the soil and the water streams. And there's a study that the Game Changers references about B12 being available in the soil, and if you eat the vegetables unwashed, then you're getting B12. And I believe the study that they referenced was essentially used. It was basically vegetables being grown in human feces, I think, if I'm not mistaken.
Yep.
And they were eating their own feces, basically.
Yes.
And don't quote me on this, but actually do the research yourself and look into the study. But I wouldn't be surprised if that was the case. And,
that is the case. That's the case. I did a long, like a 3 hour, maybe 2.5 or 3 hour stream debunking the Game Changers. And this is one of the arguments that they make. If you actually look at the study, it was grown in human poop, used human manure. There was human shit. So they were getting B12 by eating their own shit. And that is what the Game Changers, that's just the Game Changers embodied right there. The perfect little view of what the Game Changers is really all about. So vegans, if you want that B12 naturally, be like the Game Changers and eat some human shit. Garland Farm, we already read that one. Thanks, Garland Farms. iPhone Musings, this is the same vegan dude. I can stop reading his super chats if you don't want to hear it. He's going hard, man. Do you want to hear this one? It's pretty harsh.
I've had so many harsh comments. I can take it.
Should we invite iPhone Musings on? iPhone Musings, if you want to come on, maybe you can come in here and actually talk to us about this. You can debunk John. We could see your real face and see what you got to say. He says John is lying if he's... No, wait, I'm sorry. John Venus equals wasted opportunity for crib death. So that's harsh, man. That's not even vegan, dude. Is it vegan to wish death upon other people? You say animals are people too, right? We want equal rights. You're wishing death upon what you believe is just an animal. Wow. Is that real Goji Man in the chat? I don't think that's real Goji Man. I think we got a fake.
At least
Goji
you're getting
Man
paid for these comments.
We got Goji Man. We got a bunch of fake. I think we got fake Goji Man. We got fake hench herbivore. We've got a lot of people think that fake hench herbivore is real. They always think that. We've got Patrick Baboobies in the chat. Patrick Baboobies is definitely real though. Cool. All right. So another anti-human vegan quote, right? They say they're so compassionate, yet he's wishing death upon you as a child. He wants to go back in time. Rebecca Hughes says, John, when did you realize the vegan community was toxic? What happened? And was that part of the reason for you leaving veganism?
Great question. So I think from the actually even before going vegan, because my brother Leo went vegan before me, that's when I realized, because I would go on YouTube and find out what this lifestyle is about, just out of curiosity, because I was worried for his health and stuff. So I would find Freely the Banana Girl, I would find Duran Rider, I'd find Vegan Gains, and that's how I knew, I guess. It's not representative of the community, but at least the YouTubers I could find were definitely not the most positive people in the world. They were definitely, and especially back in those days, it was like the baby stomping days for Vegan Gains, right? So pretty down to earth people for sure.
Cool. Kevin Booten says, JV, have you tried dairy products? Lactose intolerant. I guess, are you lactose intolerant, or is John Venus lactose intolerant? What are you asking there? John, you had any dairy?
I've had dairy, yeah.
Cheese?
Yeah, like now, after, or in my life, what, I don't know. So I've had dairy, obviously, my whole life. I grew up eating dairy and cheese and that kind of stuff. Now that I, came back to eating animal foods, I have not had much dairy apart from some raw butter is the only thing that I've had. So we got some.
How good is butter?
Got our hands on some raw grass-fed butter.
How good is butter on a scale of 1 to butter?
Yeah, my friends always used to make fun of me back in the day that and my Counter-Strike username used to be Butterface because I love butter so much.
Yes, dude, butter's amazing. Butter's the best. The rice, there's no reason to eat rice unless it's drenched in butter. I'm sorry, guys. That's the only way to do it. The only way to have, that's why croissants are so dang good. It's all that freaking butter. Butter is amazing. All right, Gung Fu says, John, thoughts on Gunhild Stordalin's meal plan? You know who Gunhild Stordelin and the Eat Lancet committee is, John? What do you think about their meal plan?
I haven't seen their meal plan. All I've heard is, if I'm not mistaken, they allow a huge amount of sugar in their diet, and they allow only 7 grams of meat, and they're grain-based, if I'm not mistaken, right? That's all I know. But if that is the case, obviously not good. And I think, I'm not sure, because I've gotten a lot of vegan doctors, quoting the E-Lancet while trying to convince me that I'm making a mistake and leaving or not eating this way anymore. And they're quoting the E-Lancet, and I keep asking them if this recommendation is a good recommendation, and they're like, of course, they're one of the most accomplished,
appeal to authority.
Yeah, exactly. So, people do trust them. After looking at their recommendations, it's obvious for anyone who's got a basic understanding of nutrition that it's really bad.
Well, I'd say also that if you guys are not worried, but if you're wondering about what we're talking about, go to my channel and search in the videos Belinda Fettke, Fettke. Belinda and I did a whole stream on the Eat Lancet findings, the big money behind it. This is something I've exposed many times. You're looking at the World Business Council for Sustainable Development, which includes Bayer, Monsanto, BP, Shell, Cargill, Johnson & Johnson, Michelin. Every single huge Fortune 100 global corporation is a part of the World Business Council for Sustainable Development. And guess what they're all about? The Sustainable Development Goals, which guess what those are all about? absolute austerity, total control of the flow of all energy and resources on this planet in the name of, guess what? Yeah, saving the planet, right? Just like always, we've got to save you by locking you in your house. We've got to save you by feeding you the plant-based kibble. And the big money behind this is, it's blaringly obvious when you look into the money behind Eat Lancet. You're looking at the Wellcome Trust, who also works very closely with Gil Bates and some of these other very, very prominent figures in global media who are suddenly experts about everything. And yeah, check that stuff out. I think that's a great question, and I'm glad you asked it, Gung Fu. I'll revisit Eat Lancet, and I'll have Belinda Fetke on again. We'll talk about Adventists, Seventh-day Adventists, and then we'll get in more to the Eat Lancet as well.
Yeah, it's strange how vegans will always say that you can't trust different studies because they're funded by the egg and the dairy industry and these things. But then when the Eat Lancet says something, then there is no conflict of interest. Yeah. It's always interesting. You
look at like Gunhild Storlin, who's she's a billionaire, right? She married into this billionaire family.
She's from here.
You can check out her Twitter for Gunhild Storlin. Check out all the beautiful globalies in her Twitter. She just wants to save the world with all the rest of her billionaire friends. And she's got a really cool profile picture as well. You'll like that, with a butterfly covering one eye. iPhone Musings again. iPhone Musings. Why are you so mad?
How much is he donating?
He keeps sending $5, so he can keep these coming. You keep them coming. iPhone Musings says, John, you have great genetics. You face is perfect for punching. Dang, we got some fighting words there.
That's so funny, man.
Punchable face, man.
I suggest, please come up with something a little bit more creative. But if you see me in person, feel free to punch my face. That's completely okay.
Is that I hope that's not an open invitation. I don't think anybody, maybe Vegan Gains, did he challenge you to a fight yet? Did Vegan Gains challenge
Apparently, I'm the only person he's not challenged to a fight when he's made a video about me. So
we got to do that in Ecuador. I'll be the referee. We'll do it here. We'll get it. It'll be a sanctioned match. I'll get all the papers, right? I'll get all the papers. It'll be legal here in Ecuador. You and Vegan Gains MMA match. We'll do it. We'll do it live. We'll stream it to YouTube, and it'll be totally legit. And I'll host that in Ecuador, and that'll be great.
Yeah. I would never do it, waste my time doing that, but I think he's actually worried about me accepting, which is why he hasn't challenged me, I think.
Other people have accepted the fights. People have accepted his fight things, and he backed out. So, yeah, I guess it's just for show. I think Butterfield or whatever, that guy from Australia, the beard, I think he accepted, but I don't think Vegan Gains got back to him. Laura Painter, hey Laura, says $4.99. Laura is a very valued member of the community here. She's definitely one of our sponsors on this channel. Laura Painter, thank you so much. Feel really blessed for everything you've done for the work we do here and the support you've given us that nobody even really knows about yet. Says John, what do you think is missing in the vegan diet for small children? My daughter is vegan and raising her children vegan from birth. Your thoughts?
Really, great question, and also a very sensitive question, right? Because we also have so many friends who are doing the exact same thing. They're raising their kids vegan, and you'll always hear that as long as you have, iodine, supplementation, omega-3s, or DHA to be more specific, B12, and vitamin D3, then you should be, covering all bases, right? But as we know, and as we talked about before, you're never 100% guaranteed that is the only thing that you're going to be missing, or that you're not guaranteed to cover all the needs of the child. And there is no guarantee, even if you're including animal products, right? But it's definitely more of a challenge to do this on a plant-based diet, in my opinion, because there are just, conversions that had to happen in the body. There the amount of food kids have to eat to convert these nutrients is higher.
Like for vitamin A, how much sweet potato are you going to feed your toddler who can barely digest foods yet? Right? I mean, these are hard.
And some kids eat, like I know vegan kids who eat a lot, and a lot, like actually a lot of them who are vegan, they eat a lot of food. And my son, he could go, he would rather not eat at all. Like he's not a really big eater, right? Like he loves food, but he doesn't eat huge portions at all. So I think especially for kids with small appetites, it becomes an even bigger concern, in my opinion. So if your kid is eating a lot and supplementing with all these things that could be potentially problematic, then you're probably fine, but you're never guaranteed to be fine either. So that's kind of the reason why we decided not to go ahead with a vegan lifestyle, is because it's less safe and less guaranteed than incorporating animal products.
Yeah, I mean I think that's a great way of putting it, and that's kind of what we talked about too. It's like, look, what's more risky, right? What's more risky, feeding your child a vegan diet that could be nutrient deficient, or just giving your child animal foods? I mean, it seems to me it's like you look at the risks and you weigh the risks of either side, and it becomes very abundantly obvious. And I think it's funny too that a lot of these vegans, every one of these vegans, I think, that's made video responses to you, none of them have children, right? You had Ryan from Happy Healthy Vegan, like, I don't know what to think about this. I can't relate at all. Like, what is he talking about? None of them can relate to you having a child. So have you noticed like an antinatalist aspect of veganism? And is this something that also played a part in and possibly not relating as much to the vegan community?
Mm-hmm. So, yes, 100%. And I don't know if it's exclusive to the vegan community or if it's something of just the new generation of people that just don't really want to have kids. I don't know. But especially in the vegan movement, you do see a lot of people who don't want to have kids because they are concerned for the world, and being overpopulated, and they have the belief that the more people, the worse off the animals and the planet and the environment is going to be. So even people who I knew who wanted kids when they were newly vegan, as the years went on, a lot of them changed their minds, and now they don't want to have any kids at all. So that is not for everyone, and I'd say the people who are vegan for health reasons are more likely to want kids than the people who are vegan for ethical reasons. 100%. That is something that I've seen in the community for sure. So we do have a lot of friends who have kids, and some of them are actually do have kids and are ethical vegans, but a lot of them are also more health focused rather than ethical. But there's a lot of antinatalism for sure. And again, I don't know if it's just, it's more common in the vegan community than other places. I think so. It seems that way for me, but I can't say that for sure.
Cool. And did that play a part in maybe turning you away from the community, right? One of the toxic aspects of it, I mean, having a child, and I mean, obviously you didn't just surround yourself. You weren't just in a bubble of just vegans in your real life, but did that play a part?
I wouldn't say the antinatalist aspect of it played a big part, because we could always find people who, enough people who wanted families and become friends with them, right? So we have a lot of family, vegan families as friends and that kind of stuff. So that wasn't really a reason, but the community in general, if you, especially since I made, in the last 2 years, I'd say, just realizing more and more the level of judgment and the closed-mindedness that happens a lot in the vegan community, and also the rejection that comes along with being vegan from the outside and also within the vegan movement, because there are different camps again within that little niche kind of group. That was just not a healthy way to. I don't think it would be a healthy way to grow up with that outlook either. And it wasn't the reason for not going vegan, but it definitely played a role in making sure that there was the right decision not to be vegan. But you can always find amazing communities within the vegan movement that is completely in alignment with your point of view, but it doesn't change what the majority of the people who are vegan or who commit to a more of a ethical vegan lifestyle think. There are a lot of extreme thoughts out there, and I'm not sure that's the best for kids to grow up in. Maybe I'm wrong though.
Interesting. Yeah, I definitely noticed the antinatalism being strong in veganism. It's very pronounced. Dude, your buddy here, he's not relenting. Not relenting. He says, I'll fight you, John. iPhone Musings for $5 says, I will fight you, John. We can go 10 rounds, 14 ounce, 12 ounce gloves. We can go bare knuckles also. Street fight. No rules. I'm game. So he's tough, man. And he has the V mark as his. I'm intimidated. I gotta say. So we got called out for a street fight, man. If he ever comes to Norway, he's gonna come punch you in the face. Danny B, and is that vegan though? Is that vegan? I want to know. Is beating up John vegan? Is that animal abuse? Yeah. Danny B says, John, what was your son's first reaction to meat/eggs?
First reaction?
Yeah.
Well, like he doesn't. Like there is no difference in terms of like actual, reaction. Like it wasn't like whoa,
like backflip all of a sudden.
No, no difference, to be honest. Like I think that we were extremely lucky because I consider us to be very, very knowledgeable about how to construct the healthiest possible diet on a plant-based diet, right? So we really made sure to do everything the best we could, and also a lot of breastfeeding, right? Like, because that is the most important thing for babies and toddlers is breastfeeding. So we were really lucky to have a very, very healthy kid, and because of that, he didn't have any health issues that when you incorporate animal products that he had some sort of magical reaction or anything like that. No.
I'm glad, man. I'm glad you didn't experience that, because I've seen a lot of people around me whose children definitely, it seems to be the teeth and the digestion that become the most pronounced, and bloating. I'm glad you guys didn't have to experience it.
And this is something that I have. There are a lot of people. There are going to be more people who hopefully will go public about this. I don't know, but there are definitely issues going on, and I hope that people are brave enough to share those issues and the improvements that happen with the introduction of animal products to kids, because I think it's so important, but it's so sensitive, and people are so scared of the backlash and the hate and the judgment, and also they have shame for the way that they parent sometimes. So you never really know.
So hard. I mean, it's so hard to admit that something you did, a decision you made in your own pride, in your own hubris, negatively affected your child, and then to admit that publicly after being, ethical vegan, outspoken vegan, I definitely, it's probably really hard for these people.
100%. But if it was the healthiest diet, if it was the optimal thing, these things would be very rare. But I have unfortunately noticed, some issues. And of course, vegans will say, well, there's most omnivores have issues as well. But if this is the healthiest diet, then these issues shouldn't be happening at all, right? So.
Yeah, no, it's a shame that people have to usually. I mean, not everybody's got to go there, but a lot of these people, they have to actually see the negative effects in their own family for them to be convinced. And I hope that's not what it takes for everybody. And I'm glad that's not what it took for you. To me, that's pretty cool. So thanks for the super chat, guys. Let's see. Oh yeah,
I'm gonna run in and grab my charger because I'm on 6%. So I'm gonna try to get it before it runs out.
Right on, man. All right, let's see what's going on here in the chat. We got fake vegan gains account. We have a possible real Sean Baker account. We had, I'm pretty sure, a fake Goji Man account that disappeared as soon as I asked if it was real Goji Man. So. Yeah, maybe that is real Dr. Sean Baker. What's up, Sean? If that's Sean Baker, shout out to Sean Baker. We talked a little bit about your debate with Leo Venus earlier. Maybe we can get Leo to come on for a round 2. Maybe we'll get. I can't get any of these vegan doctors to agree to debate anybody. This is what's crazy. Leo Venus is the only one that will agree to debate anybody. So at least Leo's got some hubris, I guess you call it. Don't want to say balls, but maybe he does have some balls. Maybe Leo Venus does have some balls. I know he challenged you to a fight, if that is real, Sean Baker. I know he challenged you to a fight and then backed out. It's a shame that didn't go down. But yeah, maybe we can get Dr. Greger. We can get Greger on. Debating you live from my treadmill. Dr. Michael Greger, slurring my words and saying them way too fast because I don't really pay attention to what I'm even saying because I'm Dr. Michael Greger. All right. So anyways, we got John stepping away for a second. What's up, guys? We got like almost 500 people hanging out. Sorry for the terrifying gif there, everybody. Hey, the Peasant's Daughter. We got George Broke, Dark, and Greger. Phoenix Compilation. Coming at you live, not from a treadmill. Make sure to get your daily dosage of Slippies, Chippies, and lentils. Dr. Greger's Daily Dozen pauses unnecessarily between the words I say, because I believe if I pause unnecessarily, people will possibly take it seriously when I tell them to eat more Slippies, Chippies, and lentils. All right, John's back. So last time we talked, you had to go poop in the middle of it. I noticed you're not pooping as frequently now, John.
Yep, I'm back.
All right, man. So the Dr. Greger's Daily Dozen bowel movements seems to not be going on with you. Last time we talked, remember you said you had to go take a dump in the middle of the stream. You've yet to have to poop.
Exactly. No, I'm past that phase for sure.
Yeah. So what kinds of changes have you seen from reincorporating good animal foods in your diet? You mentioned you're having butter, you're eating wild game meat. What feels different?
Yeah, so what I'm eating is essentially, let's go all the way back. So in the very beginning, when I uploaded that picture that is so infamous and so, that people call me, they say I look like a cannibal in that picture, but this picture basically was like the last or the first kind of picture of the experiment. And that was like my last day being vegan, right? So from that day, I started eating oysters. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Did I break?
Okay. Oysters, mussels, and eggs, right? So that's how I started eating.
Nice.
And in the first 2 weeks, I didn't notice much change physically to my body, but I did notice my skin changing. So I'd say, yeah, I don't know what's going on with these. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, man. We're good.
Okay. So the skin was the first thing to change, right? So my skin thickened. I got more color in my skin. It was just, it's hard to describe, but it was just more of a, I was filling out a little bit more, right? It was just a healthier look. And it wasn't necessarily something that, was huge, but it was big enough for me to realize that, there must be something that I'm benefiting from these few foods that I'm eating right now. But after that, I can't hear anything anymore. What is this?
I can hear you just fine. We're good on my end. Audio's great.
Yeah.
We're all good.
So after the mussels and oyster experiments, I came to Norway, where I then had access to wild-caught meat, which is deer, and also a little bit of fish. So I continued the experiments with a little bit more animal products than before, and my skin just kept improving. I think a lot of people will say that they don't see a difference, but when you look at yourself in the mirror every single day, you know how you look like, and it's not placebo or anything like that. You have control over your skin quality, how your eyes look, and these things, and this is the main change that I saw. And the main physical change, apart from the skin itself, like muscle wise, was cramps. I was having a lot of cramps for the past two years, I'd say. And every time I'd have a intense training session, my muscles would cramp up a lot, like really, not just like, oh, it's cramping a little bit here, like the normal stuff, but like really bad cramping. And actually, I had this on camera and I deleted it because I was in a rush, but I wish I didn't. But I caught myself, like I was making a stretching video that was about how I kind of like got better from my herniated disc. And during that stretching video, which was after I think it was a push workout, I was doing a cobra pose and my arms just cramped up so badly that I was laying there like in agony, like really trying to like figure out a way to relieve myself of this pain. It was the worst experience ever.
Yeah.
And so that was something that was a big issue for me, and that got healed. It disappeared immediately after a week or something. Since I started.
How long did you experience that? How long was that going on before? Like, was that just a regular thing for you for years?
Yeah. So it was a regular thing, even though I made a conscious decision or effort to incorporate more magnesium, more, all those minerals, zinc, electrolytes, sodium, getting all the salts in there, and hydrating enough, not consuming caffeine. I went off caffeine completely for a while as well to see if it helped. But, something about what I was eating, the mussels or the oysters and the eggs, and then, the deer and that kind of stuff, and the fish, something in there was being absorbed, because my cramps were completely gone.
Okay, John. Name the nutrient that you were missing that would make you not have cramps. Okay, John. Name the nutrient right now. Name it. Name the nutrient, and show me 5 studies.
This is the thing, right? And this is the thing, right? Because I can log my food in every single day on Chronometer on my FitnessPal, and the numbers will be perfect. I'll be hitting the RDIs of everything. Not that I count my macros and nutrients every single day, but I have a good idea. Even though I was getting enough of these nutrients, I wasn't, getting rid of the cramps, right? So I don't know what was responsible for it, but I know there was something. And since then, I've only had a cramp once, and it used to be every single time after a workout. And so far, only one cramp in these last 6 or 7 weeks that I've no longer been vegan, basically.
Do you notice, like, you mentioned your skin, right? Did your skin color change much? And a lot of vegans, there's the classical pale, frail-looking vegan. Do you think your skin changed color, tone very much?
Yeah. So I just uploaded a video showing day 0 versus day 12. And same light, same angle, same exact place and everything. And I can definitely see some changes. Maybe it's just my own bias, but I can see some big changes. So if you want to see it for yourselves, it's towards the end of the video. You don't need to watch the whole thing. It's 15 minutes long, but you can see a big difference in color and thickness of the skin. I don't know. Maybe placebo is a powerful thing. The mind it does everything, right? But I don't think so.
Yeah. All right, man. That's cool. That's cool. All right, so we got, look, there's just so many super chats. Thanks, guys, for supporting the stream. Really appreciate this. You got to get John Venus on here more often. You guys are so much more generous with the super chats when I got John here. We got Psycho Magnet says, when you going out hunting, John, bow or rifle?
Yeah, I'm not sure bow hunting is even legal here, to be honest, in Norway. I'm not sure. I've never seen anyone hunting with bows here. So definitely rifle, yeah. I really enjoy shooting, in shooting ranges. I've always, like, my favorite childhood movie was Shooter. So just shooting has always been my, one of my, favorite activities and hobbies. And I think I'm pretty good at it, so I think I'm going to be able to get some clean shots you know, do a good job hunting as well. Of course, I need to learn about tracking the whole process, and you know, how to slaughter the animal, and how to you know, extract the valuable nutrition parts, and how to use the different parts of the animal to benefit me and my nutrition, and use the whole animal and be effective. And these things I still had to learn, but I'm starting in September, basically. I can't shoot in September, but I can just hunt with other people who have their licenses, and just learn the whole process. And yeah, that's something I'm really looking forward to.
Awesome. You better put out some videos, man. I want to see some hunting videos. But you've been called out for it. They want a steak video. We want to see you find a good steak, eat that dang steak. Too many of these vegans with their eggs and fish, man. They think go straight for the steak. Pinkhead Troglodyte, thanks a lot, says, when will you chow on some raw liver, John? When do you eat that raw liver?
I
Not
don't know
it?
if I'm gonna be able to do that. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, liver.
Give them some
like,
time.
even-
Give them some time, guys.
Exactly. I mean, I'm probably raw never. I mean, I know that there are some benefits just from eating, you know, raw foods and stuff like that. But I just don't see cooking is not gonna ruin the nutrition profile that much. So I think I'm gonna definitely have it cooked.
Nice. All right. So, how's your relationship with your brother? Maze Ma asks, thank you for the super chat. How's your relationship with your brother? Do you think he might change his opinion on animal foods because of you?
I'm assuming he's talking about Leo. So yeah, I don't definitely not changing his opinion based on my choices. He disagrees with my choice. Like, he thinks that it is the most optimal diet for human health, and you know, these things that I believed in before as well. So and he's been vegan for 7 years, or maybe 8 years soon. I'm not sure. He says 8, but I think it's 7. I'm not sure there. But like, as long as he's healthy, and our family's healthy, our family, like a lot of us are still vegan. I don't think he's going to change his opinion. And maybe even if like everyone in his family falls sick, like maybe he'll still have the same opinion, as long as he himself can sustain the vegan diet. So
Yeah.
I don't think he's really he's really in there, and I think that he wouldn't change, you know, that easily. But he does, you know, he is, first of all, if anyone's going to succeed, he's going to be the one to succeed, because he's got good genetics. He's dedicated. He knows like how to eat and construct a healthy whole food plant-based diet, and he eats a ton of food. I've never seen anyone eat that much food in my life, right? Like, people, every time that he visits someone, everyone's mind blown by the amount of food that this guy eats. So he's definitely getting the nutrients just because of the vast amounts of food that he is able to put inside of him. So obviously that doesn't translate well to everyone, but for him it definitely works.
All right. Leo Venus in it for the long haul. Do you think he would go down with the ship? Do you think he would admit to himself if he was experiencing negative health effects? Do you think he would? I'm not trying to throw you in. I'm not trying to like get you in trouble.
Yeah,
with
no, I'm
Leo
trying to
or
think,
anything.
because like, you know, because a lot of issues can be more psychological and mental and less physical, right? So I think if he had some physical issues, like maybe an injury that would never heal or something like that, I think that he would probably go the route of supplementing with whatever might be missing. So like, he would probably even, you know, take vitamin A supplements and these things if he had to, for example, and he would go the supplement route for sure. I don't think he would, because I don't think just because he finds out that the vegan diet is not optimal that he wouldn't follow it himself. I think even if he finds out that incorporating animals would be beneficial or better, I think it would still, you know, be willing to take that hit and take extra supplements and just carry on the vegan lifestyle. I think so.
All right, so you mentioned your herniated disc. You had lower back pain. You were talking about it last time we talked. It had been a long time that you've been dealing with this. Has anything changed as far as the chronic pain in the back?
Yeah, so I was actually supposed to go to a soccer training today to test, you know, this today, But instead, I went cliff diving, and I did some gainers and backflips and these things. And I've also played a little bit of soccer and then trampolining and stuff like that. So my back feels good. It doesn't feel like it's getting worse. I'd say there are days that are more painful than others, but it's definitely way better than it was before, right? And I think a lot of that was because of me, stretching a lot and really focusing on just relaxing and meditating, and these things also maybe played a role. Who knows exactly? And I'm hoping that now it can get even better. If it doesn't, it doesn't, and a lot of people struggle with this for the rest of their life. But I do believe that I'll get 100% better again, and it's just a matter of time. And I think give it a couple more months, and I think I'll be back to deadlifting, and maybe I won't because of the risk that is involved. But I'll definitely be able to use my body exactly as I want to use it. I'll be able to sprint and change direction and move freely, just the way that I did a couple years ago. And I can't wait for that, because it just feels it's not a good feeling to feel limited by a physical injury. It's one of the worst things ever, especially for someone who's used to doing so many sports and doing so many activities and lifting and these things. So I'm looking forward to healing completely. I'd say I'm 90 to 95% there, but there's some days that are worse than others.
All right. Aaron Hoosh, what's up, man? Talking about that boiled kidney. Says every time I catch your stream, I'm eating a boiled kidney. Put John on the tip. John, you gotta boil some kidneys up, man. When you get when you hunt the animal, get the kidney, boil that kidney, and then enjoy. And then lather, rinse, repeat. You're gonna love it. Boiled kidney's the best. Yeah, so good. Let's see. We got one more super chat here. Then we can start wrapping it up. I know it's been almost 3 hours now. John, high quality meat products over here in Norway is difficult to get hold of. Maybe this is something you and Catherine could work on for now. So we got a request, man. They need some good quality animal foods. We better step up.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely think there are people more experienced than me in this area for sure. But who knows what the future is going to bring, right? Like, if it is a fact, like if it is true that it is really hard to get quality meat in Norway, which it seems to be the case because I still hadn't found anything, and that's why I haven't bought anything. Maybe, I will look into solutions and maybe help people out, because I think that is a really important thing. But I am far from the most experienced person in that field, being vegan for so long and not really, growing up as a farmer or anything.
Yeah, you got your chickens. You mentioned you're getting chickens now. You're setting up the chicken house.
Yeah.
So one step at a time. I like that, man. And maybe you can work on the ranching next. But there's a lot of people out there.
Speaking of chickens, do you guys eat chicken hearts in Ecuador?
We don't eat chicken very much, actually. We have chickens, and we don't slaughter them. We use them for eggs.
Right.
So I mean, chicken here, most people are feeding it low quality feed and balanceado. Right? We have chickens at free range. They clean out the cow poop, they eat bugs, they eat worms, and then we feed them good organic grains. We feed them organic corn that we soak and sprout for them. We find that if you sprout it, if you soak it and ferment it a little bit, shout out to my buddy Carnivore for putting me onto this. You ferment it a little bit, they actually require less. Like, they don't need to eat as much to get the same benefits and to fill up with it. So, and that makes sense, right? You're removing some of the anti-nutrients. You're activating some of the enzymatic processes that make the nutrients bioavailable. So, we got chickens that we feed, but we haven't slaughtered any yet because they keep producing eggs. And I don't like chicken as much, right? The fat's not as good. You're never going to get a fat that's as good as something from a ruminant animal or dairy, right? Dairy fat, ruminant animal fat, that's the peak. That's the best. That's the best sources of fat. So yeah, I'm not so into chicken. But if you can get good quality chicken hearts, chicken livers, I know people who love them. I mean, my kids like chicken. Like, we just don't buy it that much.
Yeah. Yeah, I was just wondering because that's what I grew up on, chicken hearts. In Brazil, it's really common to go to these rodízios or whatever they're called, and they always serve a ton of chicken hearts there. So I was wondering if it was the same in Ecuador.
Do they do beef tongue? Beef tongue's really good too.
Yeah, I had that as a kid a long, long time ago. It's been a while.
Lengua, yeah, so good. Yeah, I'm excited to hear about more of the foods you're going to incorporate. I got another question for you, man. This is one of the things that was on my mind as well. A lot of the vegans are tripping about it too. So you're coming on this channel. It seems like you're definitely out of the veganism is the best for everybody mind state. It seems like you're almost leaning towards veganism might not be optimal for anybody. But what's up with the vegan? You're still coaching vegans. You still do vegan meal plans. How's this fit in? And is that, I mean, are you just still coaching vegans because you want to keep an income stream, or do you think that maybe, what's up with that? Why are you still coaching the dang vegans?
Good question. Definitely, probably one of the biggest criticisms I've had since coming out with that video. And it doesn't make sense for us to throw out a product that we believe is the best that it can be on a plant-based diet. Like, if you are a grown-up who has decided to try a plant-based diet out, or you're a vegan who wants to optimize your nutrition, the product that we have is, the best that we can, that we can make it. And it's probably going to be the best one in the market because we have so much experience in it. So I don't see it as a bad thing. I see it as a good thing. I see it as a service and as a helpful tool to anyone who wants to try a plant-based diet out. So I don't see a reason to stop selling them. That's how I see it personally. I don't see anything unethical in doing that. I mean, you got personal trainers who eat meat or who are keto, who are training vegans all the time. Like, people do that. Like, people buy their vegans go to the supermarket that sell meat, and they buy their kibble, as you call it, in supermarkets that sell meat, right? So this is just the way the world works. Like, you can't just expect vegans to sell to vegans only and meat eaters to sell to meat eaters only. It doesn't make any sense to me personally.
So you don't feel like it's an ethical, you don't have an ethical dilemma about helping people with a vegan diet. You don't think do you think veganism is a negative force, right? It seems like you don't think veganism is a negative force, which is why you're still willing to help people on a vegan diet. Whereas me, I would tell people who come to me for vegan coaching, I tell them, no, I can't help you. And I think veganism is not a good idea, because that's my stance on it. I believe veganism is harmful. Are you not there yet? Do you believe veganism is harmful?
Right. I think that is the difference. I think that, I think that veganism is not, is not going to kill you. Mm-hmm. And that is probably because, maybe I will have that stance in the future. And if I do have that stance, I would find it unethical to sell vegan meal plans. But that has not been my journey so far, but I'm open to that, in the future. If I see that everyone in my family is, suffering health consequences and they're not thriving, then I'm definitely going to reconsider my position and stop selling meal plans. But at the end of the day, even if I believed it was not the optimal diet, there's still people and experts who believe it is. And as grown-ups, people, if they want to do something that, they themselves think is the best, I will give them that option. Maybe, who knows how I'm going to think, in the future. But right now, I don't see why I can't help everyone. So, if people want to be vegan, they can. If they want to try a plant-based diet out, and most people who come to me, they're people who are new to the idea. They want to try something new, right? They're not long-term vegans. Most of them aren't, at least. They're just people who want to switch their diet from a Western diet into a diet that is going to benefit them. And I do know, that a whole food plant-based diet is better than a Western standard Western diet for sure, just based on all the testimonials and all the results that I've had over the 5 years, right? So I don't see it as an unethical thing.
All right, cool. Thanks, John. We got, all right, Gung Fu, John. I got Dag Blaggett. Wait, I got Dag Blaggett and TV2 to do articles about you. What the heck is Dag Blaggett?
Those are both big news outlets here in Norway. So I've been on the news and in different podcasts nationally here in Norway, since that release of the video. So people.
Gung Fu got you in there, man. Gung Fu's helping you out.
Oh yeah, awesome. Appreciate that, man. They keep saying that someone an anonymous person has given us a tip. So if that was you, awesome.
All right. Bitter Bitch sends €3, says, thanks for the stream, guys. Best wishes to you and yours. Thank you. We got our buddy Garlic Farm sending $10, says, John, are you aware that the big four meat packers who supply supermarket grain-fed beef are the same companies that are spearheading the vegan fake meat movement? And are you anti-vegan at this stage?
So in terms of like Impossible Foods and Beyond Meat and these things?
Right. Well, you look at, I mean, some of the biggest investors in these. You got Tyson Food, who was one of the first investors in Beyond Meat.
Oh, right.
You got Cargill, heavily invested in producing fake meat now. Like the big four meat packers, all these huge corporations who are producing all this meat are also producing the plant-based kibble.
Yeah. You know, what I think about that, I don't know. Like, first of all, I don't think that fake meats, I've never promoted them as a healthy alternative to meat. I've always thought that meat was going to be healthier than fake meats. You know, or maybe I didn't in the beginning, who knows, but in the last couple of years for sure, I've been open and acknowledge the fact that they are pretty bad for us. And I think most vegans who are into nutrition would acknowledge that as well. In terms of like, finding it strange that the biggest meat packers are, you know, investing in Beyond Meat and Impossible Foods. You know, I guess it makes sense because, you know, they want to, you know, be in the game as well. I don't think the founders of those companies are from the meat packing industry. I think there are, or maybe one, like at least from Beyond Meat, I believe he is a ethical vegan. Maybe I'm mistaken, but yeah, they definitely have a lot of funding from the meat packing companies, which, you know, I guess people take money from wherever they can, right? So that's just how corporations work. And I don't know. I obviously, like, it's a huge issue to preach sustainability and a green future and claiming to be environmentally friendly, and then buying, you know, going to a store here in Norway and buying the Beyond Burger that has been shipped across the world and made from, you know, monocrops and heavily sprayed GMO crops. And it's just not the solution that people think it is, I think. And it's been marketed that way. But yeah, I don't have that many thoughts. I haven't looked too deeply into that.
Cool. Yeah, it's something we talk about here a lot. I mean, I've been harping on about that for years now, and I think a lot of people are starting to catch on to it. But also, I mean, the other way, it works the other way too. If you're going to buy the imported beef in the U.S. that's coming from halfway around the world, you're going to be undercutting U.S. producers if you live in the U.S., right? You're going to be undercutting the U.S. producers and also directly funding these same companies who want to tax your meat and ban your meat. Right? The ones who consolidated the meatpacking industry are also pushing for legislation that's going to tax meat, and that's going to make it more expensive, and that's going to make the plant-based, highly profitable, monocropped, patented GMO stuff cheaper. So it does cut both ways. So both the people who are eating meat and the vegans will be negatively affected by supporting these companies. Kim, cookbook bibliophile, since $5, says, I'm an omnivore. I realized I couldn't digest many vegetables cooked and raw. Some people don't believe I could have this issue. I think a lot of people realize they can't digest a lot of vegetables cooked, especially raw. Proper preparation of plant foods is required, whereas animal foods, you can eat good quality animal foods usually in the state they come to you without even cooking and preparing it. So what's that tell you? That's kind of interesting. But yeah, if you got any thoughts on that. But I think I'm gonna wrap it up now, man. It's been a while. I'm getting that computer zonked headache, and your eyes start to get a little bit weird when you've been on a computer for too long.
Yeah, it's past oh my god, it's almost 1 a.m.
Oh man, your buddies, your little boy's gonna miss you in the morning when you have to sleep in. But
yeah, exactly. Yeah, well, he never lets me sleep in, but yeah, we can only hope.
Cool, man. Well, hey, John, I'm stoked for you, man. I'm glad to see you. Glad to see you leave the cult, and I appreciate you answering the questions we had. I think a lot of current vegans and future ex-vegans are probably going to benefit from you being so honest, and I appreciate that you have not been You didn't tell me anything was off limits. I think I asked most of the questions I had. I'm sure I forgot a bunch, but yeah, I want to tell you I appreciate you coming on. And you guys can check out John's channel. I put a link to John's channel down below. Anything else you got to say, John? Any final closing statements?
Yeah, I'd like to close with just, you know, if you're a vegan watching this, or even a carnivore, whatever camp you come from, just, you know, just realize that things are not black and white. Like, you know, a lot of times we do have common ground. A lot of times we are trying to achieve a lot of the similar goals. And I think being so caught up in your own ideology and have, you know, just a blind eye to everything but your information and the information that your doctors that you believe in and your sources are saying, and be completely closed off to everything else is a very dangerous way to live. And even if you do have a strong belief, I really encourage you to look at the opposite belief all the time and you know, be objective, and not only look at the opposite belief or whatever, you know, or you know, the what you think is the opposite belief, but look at the situation from as many angles as possible to try to come closer to the truth. And I believe that everyone can do more of that. And you know, if you're doing it already, that's awesome, and I applaud you because you're definitely in the minority.
All right, man. John Venus, ex-vegan, John Venus. Really appreciate you coming on, man. I want to see some more. I want to see you eating a steak, man. I want to see some good videos of what you've been eating, and good luck on the procuring of good quality foods over there in Norway. It's a shame you guys don't have as much good quality animal food production. You got tons of pasture, and you got neighbors with sheep. I mean, maybe I'm wondering if you can't get some, if you can't buy some sheep or some mutton from your neighbors, or even maybe buy an animal and slaughter it yourself.
We need a house first.
Yeah, well, once you got a house, then you could slaughter the animal yourself too. You know, I mean, backyard slaughter is an option for a lot of people. And I saw you sent me a picture of some of your neighbor's sheep. Man, those look delicious. So I'd buy one of those and slaughter at home.
Yeah.
But yeah, man,
Yeah,
thanks for coming on.
I'll keep you up to date. Yeah, thank you so much for having me on. It's been a pleasure.
All right, John Venus, everybody. We'll see you guys next time. Thanks for supporting the stream.